You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Well, there's a look at Everbank Stadium, and wow, that ain't the house of horrors, but that is a house of despair right now. That in the Miller Electric Center. We saw that place at about 6:10 this morning when the Jaguars and company arrived back to team headquarters after a blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills. Oof. Now, you want to start yelling? We could start yelling. I'm going to need some pick-me-up and energy. I yelled all last week. I'm not even sure I'm as mad this week as I was last week. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane. We are live at the Winston Family YMCA. Did you get a workout in? Or later?
I didn't get it here, though. I had to go to the other YMCA because traffic was a little too bad coming here.
Traffic wasn't great today.
No, it was not ideal by any means.
I saw traffic both ways. I was driving against traffic at 6:30 this morning and then coming back this way. It's amazing how many people are on the road at 6:30 in the morning. I just don't live that world.
Got school, man.
I guess so.
Yeah.
This Y, by the way, is jam-packed. I mean, not right here. I mean, in here, too, because of the high school media day. But just the gym, how many people work out in this place. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we have high school kids littered all over here. High school 9-12 Fall Sports Media Day, which is basically not the football high school media day, which we were at back in August with Baker Sports. This is other sports, and the other kids get the opportunity, part of the high school 9-12 program, to talk to the media and get used to doing that, answering questions. And so just about education and obviously exposure for their sports and some of the stars in other sports in the area. We have another setup over there with Marcel Robinson, our Action Sports Jax team, and so we'll be recording more for the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. We may have some visitors stop by, but we know what the big story is here in Jacksonville, and that is just a stunned, shocked, lost for words football team that has no answers. They're a bad football team right now. I think that's crystal clear, and I don't know how they fix it. I don't think they know how they fix it. I'm not surprised they lost last night. I am surprised it looked like 2011, 2013, 2015 with their offense, as their offense now has scored 17, 13, and 10 points. That's a major issue. And then, well, the dam broke on the defense last night too, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the very first games I can remember in Jaguars history where there is nothing positive to take away from it. There is not one glimmer. There is not one shimmer. That was an embarrassing performance last night, and it was on all three phases. And I'm at a loss for words, really, man. Like, there's obviously a lot of stuff we got to break down. It starts with that defense with Ryan Nielsen. I was a big proponent of Ryan Nielsen in terms of what he brought to the team, in terms of his philosophies. And I even said, like, he could definitely be a head coach one day because I believed in what he was saying. And my biggest takeaway with Ryan Nielsen was he was going to set guys up to be successful. Seeing Eric Armstead last night at defensive end was not setting guys up to be successful. And I preached this for how long? And I said, keep him in the middle. Do not put Eric Armstead on the outside. Well, you did, Brent, and literally, the Trevor pick was bad and everything. The most upset that I was last night was when the Jaguars scored their touchdown. I'm like, all right, let's make it a little interesting. Are we going to see a little Charger magic once again? Like, all right, crazy things can happen. And I see Eric Armstead at defensive end, and there was 3 plays in a row where it looked like he had no idea what was going on.
I had stopped watching by that time, so I'm glad you were.
Yeah, possibly. That can't happen. That can't happen from a guy that you're giving that much money to. But listen, there's plenty of blame to go all around.
Yeah,
putting your guys up.
No, go. Yeah. Keep going.
Putting your guys up for success. Playing press coverage. Like, listen, I was a big proponent yesterday, Brent, saying the Bills, it's going to be an attitude game. That's all it's going to be because we know what the Bills do. Well, my apologies to Mr. Brady in that booth, their offensive coordinator, because he game planned the crap out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He said, you know what? Do you want to stay in man? Okay, that's fine. Maybe we don't have the best wide receivers that are household names quite yet, but what we can do is run motion, quick stuff, and guess what? The Jaguars couldn't stop it. Devin Lloyd, once again, I was a big proponent. Don't move him in the middle linebacker. Don't put him on backs. Don't put him in the middle of the field. That's going to be Poya Lukin's job. Well, you did it, and what happened? Devin Lloyd last night, not a good game. There wasn't nobody really had a good game last night, Brent. Trayvon Walker. Listen, I understand. Maybe you're getting held, I think it was like the second drive or whatever for that touchdown.
Play. Yeah.
Maybe you're getting held, but don't stop on the play, please.
Stop, yeah.
If you're getting held, then keep running and the ref will call it. You do yourself no favors when you spin, that the tackle grabs you, and then you just stop the play.
Yeah.
You can't do that, man. So, once again, there's so much to break down here, Brent, but the overall synopsis last night was it was embarrassing. And it was probably the worst game I've ever watched the Jaguars play.
It was very reminiscent to me of the Detroit game. I thought it was the Detroit game a couple years ago, so I don't even have to go back that far. This was in the Doug era, by the way. This was a Mike Caldwell team that could not stop anything that day. It looked like varsity against JV. And there are a couple of times in the history of covering the Jags, which has been not so great over the years, that it's looked like that. 2015 against New England Patriots, 2013, really the whole first half of the year, but specifically against the Seattle Seahawks, where Russell Wilson got benched in the third quarter because Pete Carroll loved Gus Bradley so much he didn't want to score 80 points on him. But that was an historically bad roster. They had ripped that roster down in 13. They had tried to build it up in 15, but still didn't have it. The difference here is, even from 22, this is supposed to be a good roster. Like, are we wrong? Are we really this wrong that the Jags have good players, that the Jags have a pretty good roster? Are our eyes that bad? I get Trevor's not where he should be and all that, and we can forget the Burrows and the Allens and everything else. That was on display yesterday. But I think the floor of Trevor is he's a good player. He's not a bad player, right? I think Josh Allen and Armstead and Etienne and Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr., and I think these guys are good players. They might not be great. I'm not trying to get dramatic. Are we this wrong that these guys aren't good football players and this is a roster that we have to compare to 2013 and 2015 and they just paid crazy money for a not-so-good roster? No,
it's not even close. And that's the most frustrating part of this. If this is back in the dark ages when your roster was essentially, you had Gabbard and company, then I understand. That's justifiable. But this is the NFL, Brent, and how many teams have we seen? We talked about this during, yesterday or whatever. It's a parity-driven league. Even if you aren't the best team, it's still supposed to be competitive. It's not supposed to look like it did last night.
Yeah.
Not even close. It wasn't even competitive. It wasn't even close. And once again, the frustrating part is because you do have these talented guys on this roster, and you're not getting the best out of them. You're not even getting close to the best out of them. And even the offensive line, we want to say, okay, should address the offensive line. I guarantee you can take, name a player. You can put Cam Robinson, you can put Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland on other teams, and I don't see him being a liability. But for whatever reason, when you get this group of guys together on this team in Jacksonville, they're all liability.
Yeah, everything's a liability right now. It is so bad that you said it. It's not there's one guy making plays. I honestly, last night, compare it to watching the Gators and the Knowles play, and I've made this comment a couple of times where it's there's not a player jumping out at me and saying, well, at least that guy's flying around. And maybe Foye, because he got hurt, would have been that guy because he's usually a guy flying around.
Yeah.
Or a Trayvon sometimes flying around. Or even Brian Thomas Jr.'s had some moments where you're okay. But even he just blended in yesterday. Let's not go crazy.
He had a drop too, I believe, right?
Yeah. They had hands on some footballs. Kirk, are they going to make those plays in the end zone? I had a terrible view, by the way, and even the TV was bad, so you guys probably saw the game better than me. But, there was when I would tweet something about a nice play, everybody's like, well, they had two hands on the ball. They should have caught it. Then Trevor throws Gabe Davis out of bounds down near the 3-yard line. He overthrows, just a terrible throw, overthrowing Brian Thomas Jr. But again, Austen, usually there's a player that sticks out. Usually there's a guy flying around. The Jags have none of that. I asked Doug Pederson, you'll hear from Doug a little bit later, but I asked, why can't you guys get juice from these guys?
Yeah, I heard that.
This is the home opener last week and now a Monday Night Football game. And I understand when things are going bad, it's hard to find juice, but that's a little bit your job, man. You guys have million dollar players. And those are the guys who step up and show some juice. And by the way, that does start with Trevor. Trevor's got to show some juice. Trevor looks like he's rattled. Trevor looks like he's lack of confidence. The whole football team has a lack of confidence. It's like they just don't know. It's like they're just playing the game. Not they're playing the game with a purpose. Not that they're playing the game to make a great play. Not that they're playing the game to be great, to make a Pro Bowl, to say, look at me. There was nobody out there last night saying, hey, look at me, I'm one of the best players in the National Football League. Yeah. And guess what? Well, the National Football League knows that right now the Jags don't have any good players.
Zero good players. And once again, yes, the defense is one thing. We'll talk about that more with Ryan Nielsen. I feel like being stubborn, not setting his guys up for success, staying in man coverage. If you think that the Bills embarrass the Jaguars on defense, what's going to happen if you have Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Bell coming to town? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to stop them in man coverage? So you better change that up real quick. Getting towards the offensive side of the ball in Trevor. It seems like, and listen, and maybe I'm guilty of this more than anybody, sometimes we make up excuses for Trevor in terms of offensive line, in terms of play calling, in terms of Urban Meyer and everything like this. And it drove me crazy last night. It might have been our loss, it might have been somebody else. They kept referring to him as, well, he's still a young quarterback. No, he is not.
50-plus games.
Take that narrative out. He's not getting paid like a young quarterback. This is his 4th season. He is not a young quarterback anymore. That's not an excuse. So go ahead and put that excuse to bed. All right? I don't want to hear any more about, oh, he's still young, he's still growing. No, he's not. He's supposed to be to the point because you're paying him like he's an experienced quarterback. You're paying him like he's a veteran quarterback. And I don't care what people in my mentions want to say about the EPA and the analytics. Simple as this. That pass that's supposed to go to Brian Thomas Jr. can't happen.
No.
Can't overthrow it. Can't throw it to Hamlin. It can't happen. Simple as that. No excuses. No, the offensive line got a hit. No. It was simply a bad throw. And it was a throw when you needed to make a great one. And that kind of changed the whole momentum of the game as well. I mean, it's not just one play, right? We've learned this lesson. It seems like
20-3 at the time, but you're right.
But at the same time, that killed all momentum right there. And I'm not trying to say, I told you so with the whole EPA thing, because, listen, there's still plenty of season left, but you can't make that throw. A guy who's a top 5 of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL can't make that throw. I don't care if you're I don't care if it's Mac Jones, you can't make that throw. Okay, and you can't. Now, I want to go back to the energy point, Brent, because it's evident. You see it, I see it, this whole city sees it. This team is lacking energy. This team is lacking motivation. And I want to go back on what I said where I thought the locker room was put into place. Where, all right, they brought in enough guys now where it seems like, they can kind of monitor themselves, can govern themselves, and Doug Pederson can focus on offense.
Players led, right?
We aren't there yet.
Yeah.
We are not even close to there. So if we're not there yet, then who does it fall on for energy?
Doug.
It falls on the head coach. And watching that press conference last night, because, I stayed awake. I was upset, but I stayed awake. I mean, it's hard to sleep when you're that upset, because I was pretty pissed. But watching that press conference last night, I didn't see any energy. I didn't see any accountability. I just said, all I saw was, it's bad, and I don't know why. And if you don't have the answer, Doug, then who has the answer? This is why I compare it to Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. Say what you want about the Raiders. I don't think they're the best team in terms of talent-wise right now. They're rebuilding. But at least when the Raiders got embarrassed at home after beating the Ravens, you heard Antonio Pierce and, listen, changes will be made. You saw some fire in him.
Yeah.
I saw zero fire. I saw zero accountability. Doug didn't even seem pissed off. He just seemed shocked, you're to this point right now.
Yeah, he had no real emotion. A couple weeks ago, he was angry, remember, at the news conference. And I think Sunday after the Cleveland game, he was kind of pouty. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of got a little jump in his step last week to try to switch this thing. And this one, he was just there. We were trying to pull out of him, any kind of emotion, really, I think. It went on for a long time. We waited for a long time. That was also an interesting situation. The way it works is Doug usually comes out however many minutes after the game, but it's usually a decent pace.
Yeah.
And then the locker room opens. Well, I knew I usually go to the locker room, but I wanted to go to Doug for sure and see, all right, what the hell's up here, right? And I didn't know how many media. When you're on the road, there's not a lot of media that travels from Jacksonville, so I wanted to make sure we asked Doug. So I was in there. Well, we're in there. We're waiting for Doug for over a half hour. Now, we knew the plane was going to be delayed. I don't know if that had a part to do with it, but the locker room was already open. Really a weird scenario. I don't know if he was talking to Shad Khan. Shad, by the way, was in there early, because we were down there next to the locker room. He was in there early. But But I don't know. I thought he was just talking to the team the whole time, but actually the locker room ended up being open earlier than we even knew. And then we waited on Doug. And then Doug came out, and he was kind of like that, right? He wasn't fired up. He wasn't. Now, it is one of those games where by the third quarter, you're lost. Like, it's not like you lost on a last-second field goal and missed a play.
Yeah.
You've been in plenty of those. I mean,
of course.
Now, some people would say it's better to lose like that on occasion, but not when you're 0-2 already and you've lost 7 out of 8 games, right? And this is the rock-bottom moment. I don't know. That's what I was trying to ask Doug. Like, what do you do? I mean, what can you can't just like flip everything. I think he even I said, do you just 180 this thing? And he's like, well, you can't do that. I mean, you put all this stuff in, but you've got to also be careful, Austen, I think, to sit there in denial and say a few things. One, we're an offensive team, because right now you're not.
Nope.
2, the league isn't offensive, quite frankly. Like, so let's stop trying to score 30 when not many people are even scoring 30 right now.
Sure.
The other thing is, I mean, whatever you think, if you think the lining up is going to correct itself, you're wrong. It's not. It's just not happening. You have to find a different way to approach that. I don't know what that is, because I don't coach football. Yeah. But you have to find a different way to approach that. Once they get in the red zone, boom, penalty. I mean, it's like automatic. They get in a key situation. These guys can't play in a key situation. They can't line up in a key situation. And by the way, one of them is Trevor. Trevor leaves the tight end uncovered because he waves. I mean, Doug was pissed at Trevor in the moment. Yeah. But I don't know how that changes. And by the way, they're not benching Trevor. They're not going to bench Trevor 3 games into the season. But they have got to fix that lining up stuff. They've got to approach that part different, and then they can figure out the defense later and whatever else. But they've got to get this offense at least moving. Right now, their offense is killing them. I shared a stat yesterday, and the last 2 games are this. And I know I can throw a lot of numbers out at you, but I just think it tells the story. The first 35 minutes of the Cleveland game, they were in 22 plays, Austen, for 76 yards. 22 plays, 76 yards. You do the math. It's easy. Yesterday, it was 30 plays for 70 yards in the first half. 30 plays for 70 yards. You add that up, it's 52 plays for like 146 yards in the first half plus of football games the last 2 weeks. You're not giving yourself a chance. That is not this offense, man. You've got a franchise quarterback. You have enough decent offensive linemen. You have offensive-minded coaches. You have receiving weapons, whether Ingram's in or not. You have 2 running backs that can play the game at the NFL level.
There's no excuse.
There's just no excuse to be 146 yards over 65 minutes of football in the first half the last 2 weeks. The defense was going to lose that game last night anyway.
Yeah.
But you are giving yourself no chance on the offensive end. And I think that's what Trevor ended up saying. He's like, I just can't get in a rhythm. I'm not in a rhythm at all. That's one of the problems. Plus, we're lining up wrong. Then I'm making bad throws at the wrong time. Like, all of it. That's fine. Fix it.
Yeah. And listen, we can sit here and badmouth the defense because they definitely earned it, right? But at the end of the day, you have an offensive system now that's been put in place for a couple of years. You have a supposed head coach who is a quarterback whisperer, who's been a quarterback himself, and who endorses the offensive, or, you have a play caller in Press Taylor who's supposed to get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, whatever the case may be. There's so many frustrating things to go through, but I think the most frustrating thing of all with Doug Pederson is you're an offensive-minded guy. This offense is yours. This quarterback development is on you. And none of those things have come to fruition. And then when you sit up there at the press conference and you had to look at your face like you don't know what to do, that's an issue. And I take issues with that. Now, I understand, I don't need Doug Pederson to go up there and rip everybody out and say, okay, this guy's getting benched, this guy's getting benched, I got to do this. No. But at least have some sort of plan. It wasn't like you just got interviewed. It wasn't like you had the microphone, Brent, after the game, and he's walking off the field, you interviewed him. You've had time to collect your thoughts.
I had a half hour. And the whole second half.
Yeah, exactly. You've had time to collect your thoughts. You've had time to go, okay, what did we do wrong here? What can I do better? And we got nothing. And that's alarming to me. And if I'm Shad Khan, I'm sure there's a conversation after the game. Obviously, you said it took a little longer, and then the flight got delayed or whatever. I thought Shad Khan was going to book you guys commercial. I thought you guys were just going to be flying like on Spirit Airlines. I thought he was going to say, I'm taking the private jet away. You guys are flying with anybody else.
I actually thought we might drive home.
That could have been the case as well.
Imagine that.
But I just think it speaks volumes, Brent. And like I said, I was going to pay close attention to that press conference because I wanted to see what the reaction was going to be. I wanted to see if there's going to be any kind of fire whatsoever, or it's going to be more of the same where it's like, I have no idea. And if I'm a businessman in Shad Khan and I see that, and I invested how much money in these players, I invested, how much money in a new stadium coming, and this is the result that I get, and I feel like at least to the media, now maybe behind closed doors it's better, but to the media, there's no rhyme or reason why this is happening. There's no answers. There's no accountability. At what point do you go, okay, well, we got to do something different because this isn't working?
Yeah, and so, listen, Doug's not getting fired, okay? Like, he's not getting fired 3 games in. I know everybody, here we are, right? We've reached the point where everybody's calling.
3 games into the season.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Like, and now, listen, I'm not telling you won't get fired later in the year, depending on what this looks like, but he's not getting fired right now. Like, there's not an ounce of my body that believes he's going to get fired, right? I mean, do you think he is, will, should? I mean, again, we're talking like in the next, if they lose to Houston, he's not getting fired right now, or it already happened. But
Brent, here's the thing. If you do fire him, who's taking over?
I mean, a defense that just gave up whatever.
Yeah, you had Randy Nielsen take over after that performance?
Yeah, no, I know.
There's
after this performance, there's nobody to go to.
There's no suitor right now on this team to be a head coach.
No. Trent Baalke might come down from the GM office.
Brent and Austen, Brent, what's up? Did you call off? Did I call the defense?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Quarterback sneaks, Brent. We got this, man. We got it.
But, okay, so you've been in locker room. Man, you played on some rough teams here in Jacksonville, too, where these things are not going great. The Malarkey year comes to mind. You guys had some belief coming off, I think, 2011 where your defense was good.
Yeah.
And Malarkey comes in. He's confident in the team, right? They're confident in the team, so much so that they told Shad they think they can really make a run, and then they win 2 games, and that's how they got canned pretty quickly. But let's balance between what they tell the media and what they can do internally to actually fix it and say, like, what can you do to mix this thing up? Like, I'm a little more reasonable and reality-driven here. I get the fans. I understand, and I'm not criticizing. You can sit there and call for them to fire and do all this stuff. That's not how it works, all right? That's not how the NFL works. I've covered it for a long enough time. They got 53 guys. They feel like they put a lot of work in and they also think one thing could switch it. Like, that's just the way they think. That's their process. And by the way, that's the way they have to think. Would you rather them think that they're going to lose the next 14 games? No. But you've been in there. Like, have you, even in your experience, did you see anything that was like, I don't know, they take something off the walls, like they practice in a different place? Like, I'm trying to think of what you actually can do that would change the tone a little bit outside of go play in London for 2 weeks, which seemed to change things last year.
That's going to be, yeah, I mean, that could be a help. Really, I'm not going to lie, man. Like, I don't, like, back when we came off that year, where we had a great defense and everything, and we were really humming, but the offense was kind of lacking a little bit, like, yeah, it was a rough season, but at the same time, like, we were still competitive. Like, we still played with fire. Like, this is the issue for me. Like, I don't even see any guys, like, getting ticked off, showing any kind of emotion whatsoever. And when you don't see that, it's very alarming to me. So to answer your question of, like, what can they do? I don't know, because deep down, my gut is telling me that something's going on in that locker room. Like, that we're not seeing, that we're not privileged to, that no one's talking about right now, that may be coming to the light if they keep on losing. Because, once again, for as much talent as you had, and it's far more talent than I ever played with here in Jacksonville, with all due respect to my teammates, like, they have the roster to be successful.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it was kind of playoffs or bust in the preseason. And I can't even imagine the playoffs right now. I don't know what it is, Brent. I really don't know. Like, I'm the last person to say I don't have the answers. I don't at least know what's going on, but I don't. I really have no idea why there's no energy, why there's no fire on a primetime Monday Night Football game. Nonetheless, when you have a chance to showcase your skills in front of the world, you absolutely lay an egg. I have no idea why it's happening.
And keep in mind, they laid an egg in the home opener, too. That just wasn't on national TV. Like, there was no juice. I don't think I've talked about this 2 weeks in a row in Jacksonville in my life. here, 16 years, covering a lot of bad football teams where it could certainly look like they were not trying or the effort. I'm not even going there with effort. I'm just saying juice. Like you know what that looks like. You watch enough sports. Like we all know what that looks like. I'm telling you, I'll go back to before the games. In our pregame show last week against Cleveland, I said, man, there's no juice in here. You can feel it. Like they're going to have to create it. Somebody's going to have to make an early play. Yep. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like a home opener with all these expectations. We almost beat Miami. We're going to go win this one, though, and get back on track. None of that feeling. Then yesterday, Monday Night Football game, I couldn't sense that before the game, but I even said this in a report on our newscast. I was like, there's some nervous energy around this football team right now. You can feel that. You know they're staring 0-3 right in the face.
Yeah.
Because they're going to Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's on a heater right now, too. I mean, they are feeling good about themselves.
Yeah.
But we knew that going in. Like, it was going to be a tall task, right?
Of course.
But that's why, even if the game looked like the Commanders and Bengals game, where you actually have life and can score and stuff like that. But the offense gets going. I actually am not surprised the defense did this. I thought they were probably due for one of these early in the season.
Yeah.
They have some guys out. I mean, look, Jarian Jones got so lost on the motion play. Like, stuff like that I feel like is going to happen when you're playing so many guys, and we can talk about that later. But I have not talked about juice and fire and all those things. Like, what is it about this team that doesn't have that? And I have two thoughts on it. One is a thought, and one is really a question for you. And I know you're going to laugh at this, but you've got to put it in this context.
Okay.
I told you, and I've said this many times in front of a microphone, that 2017 Jaguars season was on the edge coming out of camp. They had a hard camp, one of the hardest camps they've ever had. And it was almost a mutiny in the locker room toward the Coughlin-Marone regime. And then they came out of the gates, and it worked. They crushed Houston. But I always have said, if they have lost that game against Houston, it was not going to be a pretty sight for that year. Like, that game hinged the season on what had transpired in August and how hard that camp was by today's standards, okay? Well, I can't help but think of Doug is known for a harder camp relative to the rest of the NFL. And if they had a harder camp than the rest of the NFL, if they were like, okay, it's cool, though, because this is going to be worth it, and when you come out of the gates and you lose, do you start to say internally, oh, what the hell did we do that for? Like, we got put through the ringer, and I know this is relative compared to 10, 15 years ago, but the bottom line is, by today's standards, most people will tell you they practice. I mean, the Tampa Bay Bucks came here and were like, we haven't practiced this hard yet, right? Yeah. So whatever that looks like, is there a possibility that team is like in the locker room, like, man, either we don't have as much juice because we're still fatigued from camp, or we worked our ass off in camp, and now we're 0-3, and we're getting no returns. What was the point of that? Yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad point, Brent. You kind of know where I because we talked about this before a little bit.
I know.
I mean,
I'm looking for answers.
No. I hear you, man, and that's definitely justified in terms of what we're seeing, because, yes, they do look tired. They do look fatigued. And maybe training camp's got something to do with it. But I'm from the school of thought, man, where and once again, I didn't go to every single practice. I was at a couple of them, right? But, man, compared to what, like, the real 2 days were back in the day and everything, and even, like, with Coughlin, like, I don't like that as an excuse, Brent.
I know.
I really don't, because you're professional athletes. You're professional football players. Football is a very physical and hard sport. And if you mean to tell me that, going full pads every other day is taxing on your body and whatever, 4 or 5 weeks after the fact, you can't play in meaningful football games and produce. I mean, is the sport really for you then? I don't know, man. I really don't know, because I refuse to believe, like, I mean, maybe they did. Okay, maybe they did have the hardest training camp of all the teams. Maybe they did. Let's just say that they did. Well, I know John Harbaugh runs a pretty hard training camp. All right, I've heard from a lot of people. I know other training camps out there can be very taxing and grueling.
But they're 1-2.
Yeah, but they've also shown a little more competence, I feel like, than the Jaguars.
Well, they did. They have.
I mean, they've lost a couple close games.
But come with me here. Come with me for a second. I don't know what they started Doug's first year. I know they started 3-7, but I can't remember I'll look it up. First 3-4 games.
Yeah.
But last year they started 1-2, and it was disappointing. Remember, it was 1-2 and disappointing. They got their butt whooped here against Houston, who wasn't supposed to be good, and they looked awful in that game. They actually, game 3, 37-17 at home against Houston. All right, now I'm interested. What was 2022? Because now they're 0-3. They were 1-2. By the way, it's the first time in Doug's career he's ever been 0-3 as a head coach. 8 years of coaching. This is the worst mark. But, I mean, is there something to it that they...
Brent,
I know
Dan Campbell. I look at Sean McDermott.
But
Brent, I look at Dan Campbell, who I know runs a hard training camp. I look at Sean McDermott, who's an old school blue collar dude. I guarantee he runs a hard training camp. I'm not going to sit here and say the reason why the Jaguars aren't doing so good is because they practice way too hard during the training camp. But I can't go with you on it. I'm sorry.
I know. I figured it. By the way, first year they were 0-1, 1-1, actually 2-1. And then they went into their slide. Because remember, they started pretty good, and they were up on Philadelphia, remember? So they actually killed. You know what's funny about this team? Week 3 has been a blowout every year of Doug. They won against the Chargers 38-10. They lost 37-17 to Houston. Now they lost 47-10.
Yeah.
What a weird deal. But
no, it is a weird deal.
Unique thing.
Listen, and I'm under the belief system here, man, where if your team's not doing good, or even if your team is doing good, you're a direct reflection of your head coach, right? Especially when you don't have the players to kind of take over and monitor themselves, and they don't right now. And this team is a direct reflection of their head coach. And all I have to go off of right now is Doug Pederson is what he shows me in interviews and what he shows me after the games. And right now, what I've seen from Doug Pederson is a guy who doesn't have answers, is a guy who is lacking energy, and is a guy who, frankly speaking, sometimes it looks like he doesn't know what's happening. And you can't have that type of demeanor. You can't have that type of attitude being the leader of your team. You simply can't. Even if you have to put on this fake facade, which I think he's trying to do, but that didn't really work out that well, keep doing it. Do something different, because getting in front of the cameras after an embarrassing loss like last night and saying, I don't know. Well, Doug, if you don't know, I don't know, Brent doesn't know, the city doesn't know, well, then who's going to know?
Who's going to fix it? It doesn't matter what you know, it's how you fix it. But if you don't know it and you're in denial about it or whatever else, you're throwing your hands up, then you can't fix it. Yeah. All right, I've got it. So my other question, now, let's take a break. But when we come back, has he lost the locker room? Like, I just got asked that, right? And, like, honestly, from my vantage point, I don't think he has. But that doesn't mean that's not true. And can losing a locker room look different? Does it always have to be, I don't like my coach? Because I don't think that's the case. I think they like Doug Pederson. But that doesn't mean they're listening to Doug Pederson, responding to Doug Pederson. And I have a problem with their lack of response to multiple things now. We'll get into that. We'll hear from Doug Pederson, by the way, and some of the context of what Austen's talking about, what we asked him yesterday after the game, and that blowout loss, 47-10 to the Buffalo Bills. We're at High School 912 Media Day for the fall sports, a bunch of other sports outside of football. We've got another set over there, Marcel Robinson and gang doing their work, and we'll have that on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network to come. We might even visit with a couple of folks here live on our show, but it's a lot of Jags today. Keep letting us know how you feel. Hey, it was a short night, so you're going to have to bring the energy as well. That's the other thing. I mean, have we ever heard of a delayed flight before? I mean, is it that big a deal if the Jags flight got delayed? It's unbelievable. I mean, if you get delayed out of Newark, nobody starts tweeting and sharing it and everything else. Get delayed out of Buffalo, apparently it's a big deal. And Jags made it home, folks. We did make it home just a little bit later than expected. We'll be right back here on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
It's hard to put a price on comfort, especially when you use that comfort on a daily basis. But if we're going to put a price on it, how does the lowest price guaranteed sound? Furniture Source is going to have the biggest brands, whether it's Ashley, Casper, or Tempur-Pedic, and once again, it's going to be the guaranteed lowest price in Jacksonville. Right now, my friends at Furniture Source are going to give you the ultimate hookup because all month long, they're making their inventory wholesale price. Check out their markdowns up to 50% off. And remember, since it's Furniture Source, you're getting the guaranteed lowest prices in Florida or your money back. Don't have the cash on you right now? It's no worry. Shop endless options to suit your style and budget and enjoy 36 months off with no interest financing. Why use your money when you can use theirs? Whether it's beds, couches, tables, or chairs, Furniture Source is going to have exactly what you're looking for. Shop the lowest prices in Jacksonville guaranteed. Find the location nearest you at FurnitureSourceJax.com.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine. Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%. You know I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer. You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com, and while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder grade materials. And there's more, and for that we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts.
Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
It's a new logo, new branding. With Bold City Heating and Air, it's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. It's hot, Florida in the summer. You can't do much to avoid it, but you can keep cool with Bold City Heating and Air. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bold City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who is coming to your house. You know they will be well trained, and they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at BoldCityAC.com. Stay cool while it gets hot. Bold City Heating and Air can help. Don't get caught sweating all summer. BoldCityAC.com, and they have financing to help. New systems starting at $110 a month and $50 off any repairs. Stay safe, stay comfortable with Bold City Heating and Air at BoldCityAC.com. Homegrown in your hometown.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back here to High School 912 Media Day. We'll talk a little bit more about what High School 912 does, and it's really, very little to do with sports, more to do with student athletes and the educational part, from SATs to prep like this, interviewing and getting ready for life after high school. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Maybe even have Alan Verlander stop by. It's a cool program, and we're here at the High School Fall Sports Media Day. Great turnout here at the Winston Family YMCA in Riverside. Brent Martin, Austen Lane. We do have a set where all the players are and athletes are talking to our crew. We, meanwhile, are talking about the players that can't play very well right now, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, but get paid a lot to do it. It's really been bad. Rob, get ready for some Doug Pederson. We're going to hear from him in a moment, but I teased before the break. Are they just not listening? Are they not hearing them? It doesn't mean you don't like them. Like, there's sometimes, that happens in every walk of life where you're just like, I'm not getting it anymore because I've been around you too much, or it sounds the same, or what? I don't know. It's not the right button. I give credit to Doug. In 2022, he pushed like every right button. Right now, he can't find the button, and they've lost 8 out of 9 football games. Like, they're a bad football team. He's a bad coach right now. They have bad players right now. I mean, that's just, I don't know other way to say it. I think he acknowledged it yesterday too, but that's just the reality of it. When it comes to professional sports, they ain't good from top down. But are they not listening? Have they tuned them out? Is that part of it? Does that happen?
I mean, obviously, when you show the performances that you've shown, Brent, and I'm going back to 2.5 games, because the first half in Miami, everything looked fine. Like, okay, this is the team that we're expecting the Jaguars to beat this year. And the second half comes around, and obviously it was embarrassing. The Browns game, embarrassing. Last night, there's 0 words for it, for what to call it. So when you couple those 3 games, and they're not even really that close. I mean, obviously the Dolphins game was close, but the way that you lost it is frustrating. But when you couple those 3 games, yeah, you start to get pissed off a little bit as a player. You start to question things as a player, because losing brings everything to light. Right? When you're winning, you kind of bypass maybe, all right, maybe training camp was hard. Okay, maybe I don't agree with this play call, but okay, we're still winning. Like, winning will cure everything. But when you lose, everything is amplified. And right now, that's what you're seeing. So to answer your question, yeah, I think some players right now have, I don't want to say lost belief, but are definitely frustrated with how things are going. And here's the thing. If that's the case and you're Doug Pederson, the message isn't getting across. That's evident.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now.
Yeah, they're definitely coaching some of these things up, right? I mean, let's hope so.
I would hope so, Brent. But whether it's on defense, whether it's on offense with receivers catching balls, whether it's with penalties on offense, whether it's with Trevor, the message of what you want is not getting through. Okay? And now we've seen that for 3 weeks. It wasn't a one-off game where your team came out flat. This is 3 weeks in a row now. And then this is your identity. And then this is what you do. So you look at that and say, you got to change it. You have to change how you're coaching. Whether do you elevate practice? Do you tempo it down? I don't know, because I'm not there every single day. My point, though, is you can't be like Doug Pederson and say, okay, we're going to figure this out. To hell with that. You are past the point now of we got to figure this out. A change has to be made. A change in philosophy, a change in how you're coaching, a change in mentality, whatever you want to call it. Something has to be made, because this isn't a one-off. This isn't just, okay, we have a bad string of luck with some really good teams. No, that's not an excuse, because it's the NFL, and parity is key. And right now, it looks like you're going to belong on the field as some of these teams.
It's amazing. And listen, here's why I bring that up, and I don't know if I said this to Doug or not yesterday. I was just thinking of it. But, the owner came out, and we'll talk more about what he said and what this means and everything else, but the owner came out and said, hey, it's win time. This team may have responded well in training. Again, you got to remember, that came out late in training camp, but it was actually early in training camp. So that was in like late July. Mm-hmm. But they responded pretty well in camp, I think. It looked like they had a good camp, which once again shows you that camp does not freaking matter.
When it comes to look good, though? The preseason games
was good. Yeah, right? So that stuff was fine.
Yeah.
And so I guess they responded to that, but I'm not really sure. They haven't responded to it when it really counted yet, right? If that's even in the back of their mind or long gone from their mind.
Yeah.
Doug, angry Doug, body language Doug, they didn't respond to that very well. They lost the next week again to the Cleveland Browns, and again this week. And Trevor got up on the podium last week and kind of said, let's go, right? And tried to rally him. And this was the response. This is what we got. This is what we got from him. Poor football game. This is what we got from the team. So they're not responding to anybody. And I think they like the owner. I think they like Doug. And I think they like their quarterback. But they sure as hell ain't motivated by it or their words. So that's not it. So you got to go somewhere else. Let's listen to Doug Pederson from yesterday. I think we have a few minutes from Doug and what he said following the game and that blowout loss 47-10. Jeez, it's painful to even say that out loud on Monday Night Football.
Well, I don't necessarily think you go in an opposite direction. You've invested a lot of time, but there has to be changes, whether it's play design, personnel, everything's on the table. Let's call it, right? And those are all things that we have to, I have to look at. We have to look at as a staff and make the adjustments.
Is it a little helpless to see these guys not responding to whatever you guys are trying to do?
It's not for lack of effort or trying and all of that. I just think that sometimes you just have to get out of your own way, right? And we just keep digging ourselves in a hole early and can't seem to dig our way out of it, especially as one-sided as this game was today.
Since there's defense, you're asking confidence, but don't choose confidence until somebody does something and nobody's really.
I mean, it's kind of human nature when you get down so fast. Now you're waiting for something to happen, and it's a hard position to be in, and we have to be on the other side of it. We've got to make things happen earlier than later.
You have been on the 3, I don't think, in your coaching career, but you guys a couple of years ago were 3-7. You got crushed in one of those games by Detroit. Will you lean on some of the stuff that you were able to figure out, or is this a different end?
No, I mean, you definitely have to look back and see what got you through certain tough times, and you just, it's a week-to-week deal, and we're 3 weeks in. We're not very good right now, and we got 2 division games coming up back-to-back, and I tell you this, no one's going to feel sorry for us, right? I mean, this is who we are right now, and it's not very good, right? And we have to be honest, with ourselves, and I've got to be honest with myself, and just keep plugging away.
All right, so that's Doug Pederson. I know you couldn't hear my questions great. I wasn't right next to the microphone, or they didn't have the microphone in there. But I think you could gather from Doug's answers what was being asked. And the last reference was to the Detroit game. Yeah, the Detroit game, they got absolutely blown out. I mean, it was awful. It was gross. It was just kind of gross, honestly. It just wasn't on national TV. And I think the Jags we didn't know much about them at that time. We're like, wow, they're still kind of not good, right? 3-7, whatever it was. But they responded nicely from that game. I haven't looked in what exactly they did right after it, but they did respond nicely after that game. Is this the one that they respond from, and now they can flip it? I think, Doug, you can kind of sense his message to the team is, all right, the season comes down to the next 2 weeks. Like, we're 0-3, but if we win these next 2 games, everything flips. And he's not wrong there, because we could all buy into it if they won 2 games and then had the Bears and the Patriots in London, then you can start doing that. But that's what he's got to do. He's gonna probably grip onto that this week and be like, the division starts now. We can't do anything unless we win our division anyway. But the bigger thing is what everything you just said. He's at a loss. What does everything's on the table even mean? I think Mike DeRocco interpreted that as, with ESPN, interpreted that as, hey, he's not committed to Trevor Lawrence. Because Mike did ask him about Trevor.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But he didn't. There was nothing. We heard it different ways. There's no way they're changing quarterbacks. They're just not doing that. And to be honest with you, Trevor's at fault here. Trevor's not doing enough, but Trevor's not only at fault. Like, this isn't Bryce Young. This isn't a guy just turning the football over endlessly. I mean, this is a guy not making enough plays, and he's also making some bad plays at the wrong time, but he's got a hell of a lot of help in bad play land.
No, I mean, listen, and once again, like, I kind of opened the show with this, like, I'm not making excuses for Trevor Lawrence, it sounds like I am now, but if you have Mac Jones in there, if you had Andy Dalton in there, with this play calling, with this offensive line, with this defensive help, you aren't winning games.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like, it's not all on Trevor. Now, yes, Trevor has to play a lot better. He has to make the throws he's supposed to make. He can't have those throws oversail, go right into Hamlin's hands, and all of a sudden now we're celebrating DeMar Hamlin, and then that's a big story. And that's kind of the thing, Brent. Like, right now, the identity of this team is, if you're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, get ready, because you're going to get your plays off. You're going to get your players elevated. It's a confidence game right now if you're playing the Jaguars.
Yeah, put the football on the mantle. Deshaun Watson,
exactly.
Obviously Hamlin, obviously Keon Coleman.
Yeah, well, and you saw how happy the Miami Dolphins were after their game. They thought, oh man, this is a hard game. This is going to propel us now to the playoffs and everything. And obviously Tua gets hurt, so it's different now. But that's what the Jaguars are right now.
They are.
Where if I'm the Houston Texans and I'm Stephon Diggs and I'm C.J. Stroud, I'm licking my fingers, man. I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, and their offensive line hasn't been playing well, but you should be excited about it. And if they stick with the man instead of zone, which teams are zoning up, it seems like Houston right now, and dropping back and making C.J. Stroud work, are they going to be stubborn? And there's a part of this that I think is stubborn. And we get a lot of comments on it. I think there's a narrative in the social media base of the Jags fans that we interact with a lot that I think are really hung up on the idea of this rotation of defensive players. I think it's a little overplayed right now in Jacksonville. That everybody's like, well, you got to play your frontline guys. Got to play your frontline guys. Well, you just showed me 4 plays from Eric Armstead. I'm not sure I would have played him after those 4 plays that I saw. Okay, so I get what they're doing, but I would come with you on this. I think the Jags right now are in a sense of denial about who they are and about what they're trying to do. And they're so locked into it that they're a little bit losing sight on winning football games and winning the moment. And what I mean by that is, I said it earlier in the show, Doug's an offensive guy who's got bravado and ego that when things go well with this offense, they should be able to score 30 a game. Well, right now they can't. They can't. In fact, I went in yesterday's show, I said, you got to hold the rope if you're the defense until this offense comes around. That's actually where their offense is. Their offense has potential. But until they get in a groove and figure it out, the defense actually has to go out and hold the door and the dam shut until this offense finds it. The other thing is, the league isn't scoring 30 points. Now, Buffalo did, but the league is not scoring that many points. So you can't just sit there and say, we're going to beat you. There's something about Doug's like, I don't really care what they do on the defensive side. We're going to outscore you. That's not the way the league is right now. Yeah. It wasn't last year. It's not right there this year. The Jags are not a physical football team, but then the other thing they're wrapped up in is development. They're so wrapped up in development right now, they're trying to play all these guys, and I'm not sure they're enough in tune with winning a football game, because what really matters in Jacksonville more than anything, and I don't know when it's coming, but they need to win a game. They're chasing. I asked Christian Kirk this yesterday in the locker room. I was like, you guys are in chase mode all the way since last December. Yeah. That gets exhausting, and you have been a part of that. And people don't understand what that means, I don't think, all the time when I say it. But what it does is there's this compound interest that builds of the negative. And even if you try to shut it out and you try to let it go, in sports and at this level of sports, I think, Austen, that compounding of bad and bad and bad just creates more mud to dig through, more pressure to make a play, more I want to do it in this moment. And we're seeing guys drop footballs because of it. Not make a play that they're so used to making because of it. So they might be talking the right game, but they're not acting it because this has been in chase mode now since last December. They've been chasing 1 win. If they had gotten 1 win in the last 5 out of 6 games last year, well, 2, I guess, but 1 more win, they would have made the playoffs. They chased it. I told you this last year. They were in an exhausted locker room by the end of it. They were trying so dang hard to swim upstream with the injuries and everything else and trying to get the win. They couldn't get there. And guess what? They still can't get there. They're swimming upstream as a football team right now. And I think you can really feel it and sense it with their play.
They're swimming upstream, Brent. And usually when you do that, you have, you at least have a couple players that can be like your life jacket, right? That can keep you afloat. That can inspire hope. That can inspire those around them to pick up their play a little bit as well and win some football games. Not trying to be a smart ass here, asking you a general question. Who is the best player right now in the Jacksonville Jaguars? Who's the best player?
I mean, honestly, it might be Monteric Brown.
Yeah, maybe. And listen, and he was kind of an afterthought when the season started.
Man, I'm just starter.
But that's where we are right now. And maybe you're not wrong, but I honestly can't name one. So if you don't have players that are playing up to their best capabilities and showing the way, then once again, this comes on Doug Pederson to set it right. And it's funny that we're here right now because this is where he was last year. And this was kind of like the whole Mike Caldwell falling out, right? Where you needed a scapegoat, you needed someone to blame, and you got this sense that, okay, Doug Pederson last year was trying to spread himself too thin because the defense wasn't playing well, so he had to go over there and make sure those guys are good. And he was almost more like babysitting than he was coaching. And Press Taylor's taking over the offense. It's more of the same this year right now, where no one's elevated their play. And this is the thing, Brent. I get it, new defensive scheme. And I have an issue with this now, too, where it's like you asked Josh Allen to gain how much weight? You asked Trayvon Walker to gain weight. You asked Devin Lloyd to change positions. You asked, Alukin to change positions. You've asked so many things when, and I get it, it wasn't perfect last year, but hell, at least when a quarterback dropped back, Brent, I was confident that someone can get home. That's not happening right now.
And we said this at the beginning of the year. We said if this doesn't work, we're going to look back at the adding weight and the changing. You change a guy who had 17 and a half sacks. We didn't want Josh to change anything he did all last year.
Yeah.
Forget about adding 13 pounds. And I'm not telling you, he played really well last week against Cleveland. If you look at it, but I don't think he's playing great right now. I don't know if it has to do with the weight. I don't know what the reason is, but it's kind of begs the question. You open the questions up.
Correct.
Right? Is this the reason why? I'll give you one other thing, and this was one major concern I had. The one thing Mike Caldwell did, and by the way, that defense did not play well in the last 6 weeks of the season last year, but in his first year and a half, that defense did a hell of a lot, and don't forget that. They did a hell of a lot, and more than people thought they would do. But the one thing they really did was get the football. They were able to get the football. This team has gone 12 quarters and can't get the football. And I'm not telling you Ryan Nielsen's a bad coordinator. Maybe it's Bob Sutton, who was on the Mike Caldwell staff, who preaches that like crazy, as you know. He was an old senior analyst for the Jags, but he pounds that in. Yep. And they got turnovers. Even when very few games did they not get turnovers. And you just know this. You're not winning many football games in the league if you don't get a turnover.
Correct.
And the Jags have gone 3 straight games without getting a turnover. And it looked like they did yesterday. So there's 3 things right now, in my opinion, that are impacting this defense. 1, the lack of turnovers, whatever that is.
Sure.
2, the maybe changing of bodies, right? And again, I don't know if that's the case, but I think it could be. And then 3, this rotation of players because you're so stuck on development. So they're so stuck on development, Austen, that in 3 games they've had 3 different lineups inactive, not based on injury, but basically healthy scratches to make sure these guys are getting in. Mason Smith, and they didn't put Jordan Jefferson in. We thought they might put Jordan Jefferson up this week just to get him some reps. They're so concerned with getting guys reps right now, I feel like, and getting them used to playing in case there's injury, that I'm not sure they have a steady thing to lean on.
And listen, and I was the first one to say you can't think like that. You can't try to plan for the future of, if this guy gets hurt, no, man.
Yeah.
Just live in the present and then worry about it when it happens. And when we talk about rotation, listen, I understand, you're going to rotate your defensive line. So people that are saying, why isn't Josh Allen? Listen, put that narrative to bed. Any great defense, they rotate their defensive linemen because you want fresh bodies out there. Okay? It's as simple as that. Every team does it. Just watch the film.
They've been doing that since the Giants win the Super Bowl. You want 8 guys along that front that you can rotate, fresh, so you can beat up the offensive line.
But here's where my frustration comes from, Brent, is that when you're rotating those guys, you're putting them in the wrong spots. All right? And I was very adamant about this, and I even said how many times it wasn't going to be a problem until it's a problem. I'm telling you right now, bumping down Trayvon Walker to 3, moving Eric Armstead to the outside, having Devin Lloyd play the middle linebacker spot, right now it's a problem. It's a problem. And now we're here. Where I felt like it could have been I'm going to be honest, man, I'm not sure who the 3rd defensive end is right now on this team that I can rely on. Because it's not Eric Armstead. He's defensive tackle. Okay, and once again, I don't get where this whole narrative came where Eric Armstead on the outside. You saw it in San Francisco, and I guarantee Ryan Nielsen saw this as well. So is this Eric Armstead saying, well, hey, I'll come to Jacksonville, but only play on the outside a little more?
I thought Prisco said that. You said Prisco tweeted
I didn't
like that. He said something like that. Did he demand to if he came over? Was that part of the plan?
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All I'm saying is it's not working, Brent.
Yeah, it's not. And here's the other element of those guys. The one thing, they brought over these guys to help glue this together. And by the way, those guys are not giving us early returns in Jacksonville. They're not fixing it. They're not helping. Mm-hmm. The Darbys, the Armsteads, the Duvernays, the Gabe Davis, the Mitch Morse. And I'm not telling you that they're not trying. I'm just telling you the impact isn't being felt. They're getting worse. They lose to Miami. They lose to Cleveland. That's what this group was here to stop. Was that the little veteran leadership? Don't blink. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's what these guys were here to do. Now, what you can definitely argue: did the Jags take a big risk on getting some of those guys who are long in the tooth? Mitch Morse, and again, I don't even think Mitch is playing bad, but Eric Armstead. We already said this about Sheriff. They've rolled the dice on him at 32 years old. Did they whiff? Because when you get those guys at 30, 31, 32, you can definitely whiff. That was my concern with bringing Calvin Ridley on a 2-year deal, right? So, and listen, Duvernay's not doing anything in the return game. No. I mean, Agnew was way more dynamic so far. I mean, it's 3 games, but I'll give him a break. Armstead's not doing anything. I mean, Davis has been fine. I don't know how much you need him. I think Mitch Morse is an upgrade over Fortner, I would say. But, I mean, we can keep going. I just... Right now, it doesn't matter if you drafted him or you signed him or you extended him. The Jags aren't getting much out of anybody, to your point of who's the best player on the Jags, and I can't even answer it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Tank Bigsby. Every time he touches the ball, something good happens.
That's not a bad call. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad call. It might be Tank Bigsby. You know, essentially your backup running back right now is your best player. But and listen, I understand what you're saying there, where you take the risk of bringing some guys that maybe on the back 9 of their careers, Brent. But this team needed to, because you needed some veteran experience. Because that was one of our biggest complaints of last year, where when it went bad, who was the guys that were going to step up and say, we can't do this? And now I feel like we have that veteran leadership, but now no one's stepping up. So it's almost like you brought those guys in here for what reason? Because once again, here's what it seems like to me in this locker room right now, whether it's Doug Pederson or it's the players. There's almost a sense of, hey, it's all good. It's only 3 games. Like, we'll figure this out. Like, and listen, like, it's not going to happen. I'm sitting here and saying, like, I get what happened in Detroit, where you guys got your butts kicked by Detroit, you come back out and you start stringing together some wins or whatever, like, right? The point to that Detroit game looked a lot different than what it looks like right now, okay? You are not a competitive football team. You simply are not. And once again, if you want to take 1 half against Miami, and then, by the way, a team with the Cleveland Browns who just got their butts kicked by the New York Giants, of all teams, you are not a competitive team right now. So to sit there and say, like, oh, yeah, you know, let's you know, look at ourselves in the mirror. You know, we'll figure it out. Still a lot of season left. No. Like, that whole narrative is gone now. And something else needs to happen.
Yeah, I don't, again, I'm trying to say right now, like, I'm not putting it on those guys that were brought in to help, but when that part doesn't work either, I mean, this is just, I saw the logic in that. I mean, I applauded that, right?
We saw Eric Armstead being the next Calais Campbell.
Yeah, but I even saw, like, guys that have been in winning programs, Baltimore, Buffalo, right?
San Francisco.
That made a lot of sense. Like, there was a lot of logical sense in what they did there. But what does it say that those guys aren't having an impact? Are they too early to be leaders in the room? Are they not playing well enough? Like, I don't know what that is. Like, why can't and again, maybe they're in closed-door meetings. Christian Kirk said, hey, we had some great player-led meetings early in the week. He's like, I thought we responded really well to what happened against Cleveland. I thought we were in a good place. I thought we were ready to go, and then we start out bad, and boom, it goes. I mean, this team, listen, I have so much respect for the players that play this game. Not just in Jacksonville, but everywhere. I try to be very fair to the players. But let's also be honest about the players. This team is a little bit, in my opinion, mentally weak. They get down, and it spirals.
Yeah.
They lose, and it spirals. This is a team that we once applauded. This is a locker room led by Doug that we once applauded for being resilient. in the face of 3-7, in the face of double-digit loss deficits in second halves, like the Chargers, like the Raiders, like the Cowboys in 2022.
Yeah.
This is not that team. I know they have a lot of the players like it, but it's not that team. That team left in like December of last year, and it has not come back. I do not know why, but this team is not handling getting punched in the face very well at all. They are not responding to a damn thing.
No. And listen, throw the whole narrative out that there's an acclimation period. If you're a free agent, you come over here. There is no acclimation period. Okay? I look at when, and this is back when I played, when we had Eric Campman come in the building. All it took was one practice for us to realize with Aaron Campman, this dude is the real deal. After he won like 4 or 5 in training camp, he won 5 like one-on-ones against everybody, against Eugene Monroe, against Evan Britton. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy's a leader. This guy knows what he's doing. Let's follow him. When Puz came in from Buffalo, off the get-go, off the very first meeting of him and just seeing his IQ, seeing what he's all about. Oh, then, by the way, in practicing and on the field, when he brings, obviously, what he does, because football is his life, we knew right away, that's a leader. That's a guy who's going to have our back. That's a guy we rally behind. There is no excuse of, okay, well, these guys are free agents, so they're coming in here, they're learning. No. If you're a born leader, if you're coming from a great organization, you know how to win, and you know how to be professional. And right now, once again, Brent, and I'm going to repeat what I've said, yesterday and what I said last week, and once again, bring on the hateful comments. This team doesn't know how to lose.
Yeah, it's interesting how you say that. Yeah,
they simply do not know how to lose, because every time this team loses, whether it's the players, whether it's the coaches, it's just a whole lot of, I don't know. I don't see any accountability. Yeah, I hear the whole cliche, look ourselves in the mirror. Okay, well, you did that last week. How are we doing this week? Like, at what point are we going to change up the mentality and say, we can't do this anymore? Like, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, you compare them to Detroit, which I think I saw a stat. They haven't lost back-to-back games since, like, mid or early 2022.
Yeah.
That's a 2-year stretch. Calais Campbell recently said in a quote, good teams don't lose 2 in a row. Well, the Miami Dolphins did. They're not very good. Yeah. But the Jags have lost 3 in a row. What does that make you? Listen, there are a lot of believers in Cincinnati that their team's good, but they've lost 3 in a row. I mean, that might be more stunning than the Jags, to be honest with you, that they're 0-3 and teams they've lost to and how they've lost. Patriots and Washington lose. Yeah. I mean,
it's not a good
that's
look.
Actually worse than the Jags, and believe it or not, but that doesn't help anybody feel better here. Mm-hmm. Austen, I can't help but think of they're just not, I don't like to do this, but in the overall picture of the NFL, if you were to rank the toughness, the mental toughness, the physical toughness of a football team, and you were to put that all in a graph, the Jags would not be well off in that category.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a physical game. There's an element of it that they have. They don't have enough of it. They don't have enough of it at this level. They don't have enough of it in the trenches right now. The run game was useless anyway yesterday. We thought it was going to come down to the run game. Run game didn't even matter, so we didn't see it. But I actually think this is more of a team mental toughness, not one individual player, a team mental toughness. What does that look like? How do you get that? This hardened nature team that is going to win the next day. And I'm telling you, I saw it yesterday. I felt it yesterday. There was nervous energy. That didn't feel like a football team that was going to the stadium and was like, we're going to win today because we're good. This is a team right now that doesn't think they're very good, that knows they don't know how to win, that lacks a lot of confidence. And that is a bad place to be in sports at any level. It's a really bad place to be in professional sports and probably in this particular kind of sport where you need the confidence. I think Trevor looks like he's lacking confidence. I think Travis Etienne looks like he's lacking confidence. I think various offensive linemen look like they're lacking confidence. And maybe the offensive linemen are a microcosm of everything I just said. Because, individually, I'll tell you that this guy's mentally tough, and this guy's tough, and this guy's that. But as a whole, I can't find it. Well, the line is that. The line is individually, I think they got some good dudes there. Like, they're okay. Like you said, if Ezra Cleveland goes here or there, fits in Baltimore, no problem. You never even mention his name, right? Same with probably Anton. Same with Sheriff. Same with Morse. Same with Cam. But here, that's a collective that right now not just right now. The last couple of years hasn't got it done. Yeah. And maybe they're the microcosm of it. Like, why as a unit can they not play together and have what they need to succeed? Even though we think individually
Yeah.
Much like the rest of this team, if you go up and down, that's pretty good. But totality-wise, it just doesn't come out that way.
Yeah, I mean, you put this roster, we did the exercises and everything, man. You put this roster against any team in the NFL, and you like what you see in Jacksonville. And you know how I feel about the whole mentality thing, Brent, but I'm going to come with you here because it's got to be something. Like, it's not a lack of talent. Like, this would be such an easy show, and it would be such an easy breakdown if we could sit here and say, "Whoa, they missed on the draft picks there, and they missed the free." Like, no, you have talented guys, and we've seen glimpses, and this is the frustrating thing. We've seen so many glimpses, but we're seeing mistakes. We're seeing drop balls. We're seeing alignment issues. We're seeing guys just not hustle after the football. It's day one things that should be talked about in training camp. And we're going into week 4 now, and we're still talking. I don't know, man. Yeah, mentality, coaching, pride. I don't know, man. Having that dog in you, call it whatever you want to call it. But this team's got to find a change real quick.
I'm watching Christian Kirk. I mean,
he had a drop in the end zone.
I didn't know that ball was hitting him in the face. Again, we had such a bad view from where I was, and the replays weren't great last night. I didn't think on ESPN, at least when I was watching.
And listen. I think Christian Kirk's he's a great pro. He's done a lot for this team. Obviously, this year it's not going so well. And I'm going to go back to what I said, Brent. And you can think it's not a big deal, but I think it's a big deal. When you have guys on Twitter focusing on random fans and clapping back on them, when you have YouTube channels saying you're going to go out there and crush the Browns, which you didn't, those things can add up too, Brent.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder. I wonder. They'll just start to wonder. Now, this is probably very unfair. Like, I mean, these guys have all had life-changing things. Like Kirk getting married. Trevor's got a kid on the way. Like, you just wonder personal life. Listen, if anybody's lived life, those things are big moments. Like, those things change your process, right?
Yeah.
Change who you are. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Does it take a little bit of getting used to and adjusting to? I don't know. I'm just fishing for something. Like, this is really weird to see. Kirk looks out of rhythm. Now, he got a little more rhythm yesterday. I mean, it was nice to see him catch like 8 passes, so at least he can get some rhythm going. But we know, like, most of that was whatever. But this is another play that you got to make. Like, you got to make this. This is what we're talking about. Who's going to make this play? Well, that's not a bad throw. That's a very good throw in tight coverage.
Yep.
Who's going to make this play? Nobody's making this play for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. This is a sport where this is the play that gets made across the league.
Yeah,
tough to watch.
And then when those plays happen and you drop the ball or you miss a tackle or you miss an assignment, look at yourself in the mirror. You know, go and figure it out. Listen, I've told this story before on the show. Ernest Miner, remember? Running backs coach here in Jacksonville back when I played. Great guy, you know, I always say what's up to him, but obviously being on the offensive side of the ball, I didn't interact with him a lot. The most profound, maybe one of the most profound things I've ever heard a coach say was during that Mike Mularkey year, and it was our last game of the season. Obviously a 2-win season, embarrassing, guys were over it, and I remember he got up in front, and like this was kind of unheard of because he was more of a quiet, reserved guy, but obviously played in the NFL for a long time, so he earned our respect, a great coach. And he got in front of us and said, obviously this year didn't go the way we do, the way we wanted. But as players, look at yourselves and say this. Am I comfortable? Because the moment that you start getting comfortable in this sport, you start becoming a loser. And it's the moment that you're on the way out. And I've seen press conferences now for the past 3 weeks. I've seen players and coaches alike. And I'm not trying to call anybody's demeanor out or their attitude because I can't speak wholly of what they're thinking. But the way that it looks, Brent, they look comfortable. They look comfortable. They don't know what's going on, but you look comfortable. I don't see a lot of frustration. I don't see a lot of emotion, whether it's on the sidelines or after the game. I see guys who are complacent and guys who are comfortable right now. And if I'm Doug Pederson or I'm Shad Khan, who's ever running this ship right now, I'm taking that into account and I'm trying to add maybe a little more adversity. I'm trying to shake things up a little bit and making sure guys aren't comfortable, because that's where we're at now after 3 games.
Yeah, this team looks like Aaron Ross is their team captain, quite frankly, right now after getting paid all summer. It's not good. We are got to take a break. Man, we need to take more breaks. But it's that kind of day. So let's get to one right now. We'll come back from this high school media day with high school 9-12. Make sure you look up what they do, and we'll talk a little bit more about what they do when we break a little bit from the Jags talk. But that's not happening anytime soon. We'll hear from Trevor Lawrence when we come back here on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Maybe you need a new tankless water heater or something a bit more intricate. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Right now, get 10% off any residential job of $500 or more. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
At Southampton, local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the golf club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jax Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jax Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access.
Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence.
You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Welcome back, everybody, to High School 912 Fall Sports Media Days. We're at the Winston Family YMCA. Austin already getting a workout in. You know, I actually got a couple of workouts in. That was the best part about Buffalo. First time I've worked out forever. My legs were killing me yesterday.
How many wings did you eat, though, Brent? Be honest.
Not a lot. No, I'm trying. I'm fed up with how I feel.
Dozen? Okay.
So I was just like, you know what? I'm going. Like, I'm not even, normally I'm like, well, when I get back from this game, whatever, like, I'm not doing that. I'm just like, so I actually had like 6 wings on Monday at the hotel.
Yeah.
But that was it. Yeah. So
blue cheese or ranch?
I'm blue cheese guy.
Let's go, Brent. Come on, man.
Stuart was telling me that, and I didn't know this, but he said they don't do like ranch on the wings in Buffalo.
Okay.
So
I believe that.
I didn't know if that is that like a hardcore wing thing?
I mean, it could be. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's kind of like if you go to Chicago, you can't put ketchup on a hot dog. Or like a bratwurst, you just put mustard on it. So that could be like a buffalo rule or something.
Which I'm kind of like that too. I'd rather have the mustard, so I could live in both places.
Oh yeah, get a little spiciness going on, man.
You're a blue cheese guy.
Oh, I love blue cheese.
You know what's funny is I didn't like blue cheese a lot as a kid. But
it's kind of an acquired taste.
Yeah, a little acquired, and now like I love it.
Yeah, I feel like blue cheese is more for like the adults out there, and ranch dressing is more for like the kids who like their chicken nuggies.
Here's the other thing about. Blue cheese tastes kind of the same all the time. Ranch doesn't.
Oh, yeah. There's millions types of ranch out there.
Ranch is like going to a bunch of different coffee things. And it's like sometimes it's good and sometimes it's like you better put a little more sugar in that.
Sometimes it's like health-made and it's pretty good. Sometimes it tastes like plastic. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yes, I don't, but the wings, I could have had a lot of wings because they even had some in the press box too. But they did have Swedish fish in the press box. So as far as that diet goes, I didn't do great there. I only had a couple, man.
Swedish fish.
I can't. That's a guilty pleasure.
Swedish fish?
Good Uncrustables.
Yeah, I'm with you on Uncrustables.
And Swedish fish are hard for me to stay away from.
Sticks to your teeth, Swedish fish.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I love Swedish fish.
If I'm going to have a sweet treat, which I don't have a lot, but if I have a sweet treat, I want to be able to enjoy it, to savor it. I don't want to be picking it from my teeth and getting it stuck and taking out my fillings and everything. That's no experience for a sweet treat.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I love them. I don't know why I like Swedish fish so much, but I like Skittles and Starburst and Swedish fish and all that. I like that kind of candy.
Yeah.
Like gummy worms, gummy bears. Like even at 47, I still like all that kind of candy. I was just talking to somebody recently. I was like, man, I used to walk, in elementary school. There was a convenience store right up the road. Now it felt like it was 3 miles away when you're,
of course,
7, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
But after school, we would just go walk up to this convenience store, which was really like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
And I just remember we'd get now and laters all the time. Like I'm going to the dentist like 5 times in the next couple of months, and it's because of those damn now and laters probably back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, now and later, I don't even know if they do now and later.
Yeah.
But I love the now and later.
I feel like now and laters are still probably a thing. There's probably like a whole surplus of them. I feel like now and laters are probably like candy corn. Like you never really see a candy corn commercial or a now and laters commercial because they have it like a military surplus of them from like the 70s where it's just like in a giant, warehouse and they're still trying to sling them out.
I'll tell you the other one that I still have an affinity for, a lot actually, is hot tamales.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
see, that's another one you probably, because you got to pull those from the teeth.
No,
too.
I'm good. I'm good. Spicy things to pull from my teeth. No, thank you. And by the way, Brent, just going forward now, give you a little behind the scenes of the show. The next time you leave, can we have some kind of a security guy here? Because we had a fellow local athlete here thinking I was going to do an interview with him, and he sat down next to me, and he was a swimmer. I'm like, so you get ready for the season? He's like, oh, the season's already going on. I'm like, oh, cool. I have no idea, man. I don't do this. This is Brent's job.
So I went over to talk to Miss Tammy Talley and say hello to her, who runs athletic director for Duval County. She does such a terrific job. What a job that is, too, with all the schools. And then I come over and I'm like, where are you going? I saw the swimmer. Xavier was his name from Boulder.
Yeah.
Well, so again, we have this other set. So I think people are coming to this set as well and be like, oh, you're going to pop in and interview. But we have the other set that we're for. I told them it's not a safe area right now. We're just complaining about the Jags. Stay away. One thing about High School 912 and this Fall Sports Media Day, if you're just jumping in, I think it is pretty cool that the kids get a chance to be interviewed and be a part of that and get questions. And that's an uncomfortable thing. You know it. I'll tell you, I ask questions for a living. I've been asked questions before, and it's interesting because you're kind of trying to find the perfect answer sometimes. But it's an acquired deal, to get interviewed, isn't it?
No, it's definitely an acquired deal, and especially being, a kid. I mean, it's so different now, the landscape of being a high school athlete than when I was growing up, right? We didn't have social media, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have YouTube. So, listen, if you would have interviewed me in high school, Brent, you would have got 1 to 2 word answers, and it would have been awkward, and that would have been it. 0 sound bites. But kids these days now they're so much more mature. They know how to conduct themselves. They know how to answer questions, and that's kind of what you have to do now, being an athlete, right? Because when we talk about if you get a scholarship, if you go to a university and there's NIL here, you essentially are your own business. You are your own brand, and what a better way to start growing that brand, to learn how to facilitate that brand than an event like this.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So nice job by High School 912, and we're going to celebrate that a little bit more, and we'll showcase some of the things that they're doing, but also we'll have all these interviews from moms and dads and the kids and the teammates and the coaches and athletic directors and everybody. You'll be able to see on Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, so it'll be some good content. Later this week, maybe into next week, we'll start rolling that out. Back to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who obviously got demolished last night, 47-10. And Rob, if we can get Trevor Lawrence ready, just a few minutes, and I know we're going to have to pump that sound up a little bit too, but I asked him at the end, and I don't even know if it's part of this little cluster or not, but I asked him, well, why aren't you playing well? What is the problem? What do you think the problem is? I thought his answer was, in the moment, was pretty good. That's probably a very deep answer, right? Because he is taking accountability the last couple of weeks. He doesn't think he's playing well enough, and I would agree with him. I don't think he's playing well enough. I also just don't think he's playing terrible football. I've seen bad quarterbacking, and he's not turning the football over at an alarming rate, although that one was a bad one yesterday.
It was a horrible one, bro.
And at the wrong time and everything else, just to keep the snowball moving. What do you think? Why do you think he's not playing well enough? Because we think he's good. You think he's good, I think. I think he's a good player. There's more in there. Why aren't they tapping? Look what Jaden Daniels did last night. And I'm not telling you everybody should do that. But the bottom line is, Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, is more talented than Jaden Daniels, especially at this time.
Bo Nix as well.
And these are one-off games. I'm not telling you that. Well, actually, it's 2 off now for Washington. Their offense is in a group.
Yeah.
But why do you get it down into this kind of funk rather than elevate into that kind of play?
It's wild because when you watch Trevor play, and it's funny that they brought up the Chargers game going into halftime because they're trying to keep the viewership and the ratings and everything. But it was a tale of 2 halves that game against the Chargers for Trevor Lawrence, and it was starting to lean that way too in the Bills, where it's almost like when you seem so out of it, you can kind of just take a sigh, take a deep breath, and just relax and go out there and play. It almost seems like, and I don't know if this is the preparation. I'm not sure if it's the game plan, if it's the people in the headset, if it's the huddle. I don't know what it is, but it seems like he's just pressing. It seems like he's trying to play outside himself when he has no reason to. And then all of a sudden, the second half comes around. It's like, okay, well, we're getting blown out. We're getting embarrassed. I got nothing to lose now. let's go sling the rock a little bit. And you saw a much better, performance a little from Trevor Lawrence. So they brought Mac Jones, and by the way, bringing your backup quarterback in the third quarter it was, or fourth quarter?
I think it was a fourth by then.
Yeah, whatever the case may be.
Both teams.
And I get why you did it. But it just seems like he's playing too tight right now.
I agree with that, man. I think you said it. I think he is playing a little bit tight. I think that's it. I don't know why he can't let loose. I think this goes back. I think there's depth to this, as I like to say. And I think it goes back to trust. I don't think there's a lot that he's trusting right now with that offensive line. I don't know. I'm not trying to create a story. I don't know where he's at with Press Taylor, Doug Pederson, the calling of plays, how quickly those are getting in. I don't really know where the trust is at between Doug and Press, that he's going to operationally do the right thing, like wave a guy in and then create a penalty, like those kind of things. Is he getting out of the huddle quick enough? Is he doing those things? So is there a little disconnect there where one's not trusting the other? And it's just a little thing here or there, but it's enough that it grows into a big thing. We know this is a sport that is a bunch of little things. Like little things matter, the details matter, and the Jags are just not good at the details. And when you don't trust the details, well, you tense up a little bit. That's human nature. Like, you're just not free and easy.
Yep.
I look at Josh Allen play football, man. That guy is free and easy. He's in so much control, but he's built up a lot of equity. Now, he had to overcome some stuff early on to be able to do that, but he's built up equity to where he is in such command. I don't sense that Trevor's in the command that he needs to be in. And especially in year 3, you'd think he would be getting there or closer to that. Sure, maybe have a bad moment here or there. That's okay. They all do.
Yep.
But he just doesn't look comfortable in command. And I think you're right. Is he putting that all on him? Is that because things are breaking down and you don't trust it enough? I don't know that answer. He probably would have a better answer. I'm sure he's searching for that kind of answer. But I don't sense that he's a free and easy football player right now, just utilizing his really good talents. He's got a lot of talents, man. This is easy for Brent to say from here.
Yeah,
but go play ball. Just go play ball. And what's interesting is you say he's trying too hard. He's not trying hard, like to the point where he's making the goofy fumbles and mistakes and trying to do stuff like that. It just feels like on a play-to-play basis, he feels like he knows every throw he makes has to be the one play that works. And if it doesn't, it just continues to mount that up. The next one better be. Well, then you got a wide throw. Then you got a high throw. Then you got a short throw. I mean, he did it all yesterday. He sails Thomas. He has Gabe Davis out of bounds, and then he started short. Once he threw the overthrow to Thomas, he starts short hopping throws.
Yeah, and then once again,
which means you're thinking about it.
You're thinking about it, but then once again, then you have a drop touchdown in the end zone from Christian Kirk, and then Brian Thomas Jr. drops the ball.
Brenton Strange dropped the ball.
Brenton Strange dropped the ball.
I think ETN dropped
one. And it snowballs, man. And once again, I don't like having the conversation that the Jaguar starting quarterback is playing tight, because this isn't a Blaine Gabbert situation where you got thrust into the role and you weren't ready for it. Like, he was ready for this. You have the talent around you to be successful. And for whatever reason, once again, from coaching to player to performance, something is getting lost in that translation. And when I see what this offense has shown so far, I ask the question, well, what's changed? Because once again, I'm not going to say it's the players on the field. I think they have the talent to be successful. I get the offensive line gets a bad rap. There's worse offensive lines right now in the NFL that are playing much better than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. Okay? So take that for how you want. I look at what's changed, though. Let me ask you this, Brent. And once again, I hate going back to this narrative because I'm so sick and tired of talking about it. It makes me queasy just mentioning it. When you talk about the chain of command from play calling with Doug Pederson to Press Taylor, well, what's changed this year? Well, now we have Press Taylor on the sidelines, but also it looks like, and this is just being an observant watching the games on TV, Doug Pederson is involved somehow. He's got his glasses on. Yeah. So, what is this? So, what is it then? Is Press Taylor calling the plays? Is he running them through Doug Pederson? And then Doug Pederson goes, yeah, because when I look at the sidelines during the game, and this has been every single game so far, 3 of them, I see Doug Pederson with his glasses on. I see him making the checks. It looks like he's calling the plays.
Yeah.
And then they go over to Press Taylor, and you see Press Taylor actually talking in the headset. So then Press Taylor's calling the plays. So what is going? What is the chain of command here?
I don't know. Doug has not let us into that.
Because it looks like you have two offensive coordinators. That's what it looks like.
Well, and I said that. I mean, I think I kind of went on a rant last week about that. It's like I think there's a part of him, like, get the play call in so I can get to the line. And especially if he's still, maybe that's not his strong suit yet, still getting to the line, seeing all the defense, whatever it is, at this stage of his career where he's not 27 years old and seen it all and been comfortable in it all, well, then give him more time. I'm not saying you have to give him like the time of a rookie, but just give him a few extra seconds. They might be taken away from that. That's what I was ranting about a little bit last week. But I can't sit here and tell you I know that. I don't know that. I just think it's logical to say if you see that on the sideline and we kind of feel like, okay, there's a veto power here and there's communication, well, that 2, 3, 4 seconds makes a difference now in that 40-second play clock. It absolutely makes a difference in what you're trying to diagnose. And Trevor said in his interview yesterday after the game, like, they threw a lot of stuff at us. I mean, they threw about everything. And we had some good stuff to thwart it, and some of it was working, and then they covered some other things up pretty nicely. So I think he now has seen all the things, but even give him a little bit more time to process it, I guess. I don't know. I think that's still clunky. In fact, Doug has been he's almost dismissed the topic where he's just not going to address it.
Sure.
But I think we're getting close to going back to that. Like, if you want to change one thing up that jump starts this, why don't you just say publicly, I'm taking the play calling over? Yeah. Would that put the fan base at ease? And I know that's not his job, but would that send a message internally like, I think I said this last week, like, look what we did when I was calling plays in 2022. We were cooking, right? I mean, I think maybe he's already doing it, and we just don't know. He doesn't tell us.
Yeah.
But if he's not already doing it, I think a public statement on him doing it wouldn't be a bad idea for his locker room, for this football team, and just be like, hey, that's what changed. We're going to change this. And I know that doesn't make Press Taylor look great, but this has been a Doug problem all along. This isn't a Press Taylor conversation. This is a Doug Pederson conversation. It's time that he takes it back. This is his coaching now on the line. This isn't Press's coaching career. This is his coaching career on the line here in Jacksonville. If he doesn't figure this thing out, it's time to take it back over.
Legacy's on the line, I feel like. I mean, I get it, man. You won a Super Bowl, so you're always going to be cemented as a great coach, but the way this is going right now, man, this is going to be kind of a blemish in your career if you can't, change things around. Let me ask you this, though, Brent. Is it worth, if you're Doug Pederson, calling the plays right now? Because the way I see it, you're in a ship right now that's taking on water. And you have two buckets to try to get that water out. You have the one bucket where it's like, all right, I got to be the head coach here. I got to change this culture around because I'm not getting the veteran leadership that I was expecting to get. I got to hold people's hands. I have to hold people accountable. And I have to be like the overall head coach, much like, last year. Or do you go, man, all right, we're taking on water, but at least I know I can call plays better. So let me do that. Even though the team as a whole, as a unit, culture-wise, may not be in a good spot right now. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, which one would you prefer? Do you want him to try to take over in terms of the head coach and motivate players? Or do you want to see him say, oh, you know what? Defense, Nielsen, you guys figure it out. We'll figure it out on offense, and we'll see you guys in the middle. Or do you want to see him go, I have to call the plays?
If I was in a room with Doug, I think in this scenario, I would say, listen, we brought in veteran leadership. Our leadership isn't bad. Our leadership needs to get going, and we need to respond. But they're not responding to me either. So I would say there's two things to really change this up. One is you fire somebody.
Yeah.
Just fire somebody. Like, that's the way the business works sometimes. Say, hey,
but who? Who are you going to fire, Brent?
I mean, if you're going to fire Phil Rauscher.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, but I'm not advocating that because I'm not even sure at all the time if it's all on the offensive line because there's a lot that goes into that, right? I mean, are guys picking up blocks or, are you setting it up right? All this stuff. But you either do that or the simplest thing to do is say, hey, I'm going to listen, we've shared this anyway, but I'm going to take it over.
Yeah.
Why not just say that? That changes it up. And guess what? You're rolling the dice. But if you come out against Houston and you look good, now you get people believing. You get people Doug's doing this. We got this going. Now because people are saying, hey, whoever's calling the plays, That's not the one. Doug's calling the plays, Press is relaying it to Trevor, somebody said. It's like, well, if that's worse than Doug not calling plays. That's what I'm talking about last week. That's a bad game of telephone. That's taking too long. That's putting your offense in a bad spot. That's putting your quarterback in a bad spot. That's not the answer. That's worse than not calling plays. I think Doug should be calling plays. It's his offense. He should be in control of it. But if he's doing it that way, that's worse. Like, that does not need to happen. So either get on the dang headset and call the plays or let Press Taylor do his thing. Like, I actually think it should be one or the other. Stay completely out of it and just let Press do it, or do it. And I think everybody knows like where I stand on it. I think he should do it. So speaking of Trevor Lawrence, let's hear from him after the game. And he's tired of talking. It does feel like a locker room that's tired of talking about it. I'll give him credit for that. They know the words are cheap right now, but they do get asked a lot of questions. And here's some of them yesterday.
Yeah, honestly, no. I thought we had a good plan coming into the week. We had a really good week of practice and prep, but at some point you gotta go do it, in the game, and we haven't been able to do that yet. So, don't have a great answer for you right now. I think, obviously watching the tape's going to help, and we gotta fix the mistakes that are showing up, and there's plenty of them to pass around to everybody. So. We're the ones that got to make the corrections, and at the end of the day, when we step on that field, we got to make the plays, and I think that's what we're lacking right now is we're not making the plays. We're in positions to do it and not doing it. So,
Trevor, how much of this feels like you plug a hole and something else pops, or is it a lot of the same stuff?
Yeah, like I said, I have to watch it and really see kind of all the plays, and I know there's obviously some in my mind that I'm thinking about that didn't go our way, and we got to figure out why and how do we learn from it, what we can do better every position. It's just one of those times where we don't have any momentum. It seems like everyone takes their turn on making a bad play at the wrong time, including myself. It seems really difficult to go forward. Can't find that rhythm right now, and we all have our share in it, and it takes us making the plays out there. Players play, coaches coach, and when we step on the field, we got to make the plays, and so we have to take all the accountability, all the criticism, all the scrutiny, because we're not doing that right now, and that's our job, is to go make the plays. And I know that I'm not playing as good as I can play, just point blank. There's plays out there, the one to Brian, which I'm sure you guys saw, like that, just a throw you miss and turns into a turnover. And it's a game where the defense needed us to make some plays, to get some momentum, to settle in, to keep the ball, put some points on the board, give them a little breather, and that, for example, really hurts us. So it's just we gotta make the plays. It's that simple. This game is hard, but it's not that hard. We made it look really, really hard today, and we're a lot better than that.
I know it's week to week, but how do you prevent the feelings of that to knock them out in the press and be stunned and shook by the whole thing?
I mean, honestly, this is just one you kind of throw in the garbage. You watch it, and you obviously make the corrections, but you move on as quick as possible. And we got a day less than normal anyways. We got Houston, so it's a good week for a short week, in my opinion. We need to move on, and we need to flush it. So that's the mindset there. Is it's enough talking, and we're not going to talk ourselves into anything. We got to go out there and do it. No one's coming to save us. It's us. So, and I still got all the trust and faith in our guys, but we have to stick together. And this is going to challenge us. Obviously, the first 3 games haven't gone our way. Tonight was really, really bad. And it's going to challenge us, and we got to stick together. We're going to be fine, but we got to go do it.
All right, that is Trevor Lawrence talking yesterday after the game, and there's a lot to digest there. You can appreciate that. He's got to stand up there and talk. You can tell he doesn't want to talk because he's tired of talking.
It's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, and
it's part of the gig.
I think the one thing that caught my attention there, well, there's a lot that caught my attention yesterday, but the one thing was, listen, it's a hard game, but it ain't this hard. Like we've all played football, and we're making it so much harder than it is. So the Jags have to make it look a little easier. They are making it look really hard. Like I come back to this, Austen. I can't remember. Right now, there's a play, the 66-yard play to Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Outside of that, there's not just a play that flashes in my mind for 3 weeks of the season for the Jags in a positive way. Like, there really isn't. Now, you can go to the Jalen Ramsey talk, and, like, I can start digging. I'm not telling you I can't dig. I can go to Tank Bigsby off the goal line. I'm just telling you, when
out to you in terms of
it's 3 games. It's 180 minutes. It's now like 175 plays.
Ask the Bills how many plays they have.
I saw like 15 of them yesterday that would remember. 5 different guys scored in the first half alone in the 34-point first half, which was the worst in franchise history for the Jags. But I'm not just talking on offense. I'm talking about on defense, too. I'm talking even on special teams. Jags were just okay last night on special teams. I mean, there was almost a couple punts that went the distance. They got beaten all 3 phases yesterday. So isn't that crazy, though? 180 minutes of football with the talent that they have. And I can think of like the Brian Thomas throw and catch for 66. And that's real. Well, I should think of the back end zone that we diagnosed, too, in the paint your play. But, I mean, again, that's 2. Like, we're digging. We're kind of digging.
Yeah, 2 and 3 games.
Fix your mic a little bit. I think you're
sorry. Yeah, it's not supposed to be like that, Brent. And listen, like, I think we both kind of thought the same thing, that it was going to be a rough game to win last night.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of thought the same thing as well, where we've seen this story before. We've seen this team before, where their backs against the wall, against a really quality team, they'll find a way to keep it competitive. And it may come down to a field goal, it may come down to a game-winning drive, but this game will be competitive. And it wasn't. And it wasn't from the get-go. And that's almost like uncharted territory, where even for as bad as this team has been, the past decade and everything, like we have a good feeling of what was going to happen. And that was dead wrong. I mean, you should have saw me in the group chat. Like, everyone's like, hey, so you bet the Jaguars? I'm not going to bet anything because I have a bad feeling, but I'm like, if I was going to make a bet, yeah, man, take the spread. Take the points with the Jags, man, because, like, we've seen this story how many times. Like, yeah, you're right. And by the first quarter, it was, you're an idiot, Austen. Like, what were you talking about? And once again, I wish there was something I could just point to and be like, okay, well, this player is not good. Or they have the talent, Brent, all right? And they have the system, because it's not like you implemented a brand new offense, right? It's not like you implemented a brand new quarterback, a brand new offensive coordinator, brand new play caller, brand new head coach. Like, everything is ingrained. Like, this is another year of the same stuff. So it should be looking better. And by the way, I think you have upgrades at a lot of positions too, like wide receiver. Like, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is better than Calvin Ridley. Sorry, Calvin.
Yeah.
But, like, I would take him all day. So, like, you have the weapons. And I want to echo back to my preseason thoughts. I was excited for this year for a couple of reasons. I'm not saying the season's over, because it's still a long ways to go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But I was going to sit here and say, and I say this every single week, and I'm being repetitive, but it's the truth. This was going to be the year where there's no excuse for Trevor Lawrence. Where it's going to be like, finally of all this waiting, through the Urban Meyers, right? Through the lack of wide receivers, through all the drop passes, through all this stuff, finally, we can see what this guy is made of. And we can put this guy on the map. He's on the map for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, and this has been just everything snowballing the wrong way. I can't help but think of, and I love the Jags organization. The poor folks there, man, they try like heck, and they got to work around this stuff sometimes. Performance matters. But they try obviously in the hunt, the message from Shad, it was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Boom. Falls flat. Trevor Bank. Oof. Didn't work. How about Monday Night Football watch party? I don't know how many people were there, but I can't imagine by halftime there were too many people still left. Like, it's just why can't it go better than the end of 22 and the early part of 23? And let's be honest, I thought about this coming in today. The Jags got a little fortunate. Actually, they got a lot fortunate. The Jags have not had a lot of luck in their time, it seems like, in my 16 years here. I thought the end of 22 and the early part of 23, they got the ball bouncing their way a bit. the way things were going, whether they were healthy, who was hurt, the bonuses to come back and win all these double-digit deficit games, even in the playoffs. It's like, wow, man, that's unusual stuff. And then 8-3, and we knew this, and Evan Ingram said it best. He's like, yeah, we're still doing a lot of the same stuff. We're winning. It's just hiding it. Like, it's not good. Like, it's still not where it should be. So as you and you look at that, like, keep in mind the Indianapolis Colts last year started this clunky offense, and it's really never been figured out even till now. This has been a clunky offense overall. Even when they were winning, it wasn't exactly how it looked. Go to the Buffalo game in London last year. 25 points. They went up and down the field. They still fumbled it and turned it over a couple times. They should have scored 35 in that game at a minimum, maybe 40. The Indianapolis game, it was the defense that gave them the ball. Like, they scored 31 points, but the defense gave them the ball like 3 times in point-blank territory, if I remember correctly, in that Indianapolis opener last year. So the Jags have just they got lucky for a stretch. And quite frankly, right now, they're not getting lucky. And it's being really exacerbated because whether it's a holding call, whether not getting the ball to bounce their way, whether it's the schedule early on, combined with the fact that they're just not good. They're not playing good football. And maybe that is an indictment on Doug because it's really bigger than just this 8 out of 9 stretch. Their offense has not looked good since really the second half of the Chargers game in 2022.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And listen, if you watch around the league, like, I understand, Brent, like, scoring might be down a little bit right now, and defenses are winning the day. But, like, watching the Washington Commanders last night, watching Bo Nix and the Broncos, like, teams make it look easy. Teams make it look so easy in terms of a long, sustained drive, in terms of scoring a touchdown. And teams are making it look easier with a lot less talented players on offense than the Jaguars have, with a lot less talented quarterbacks than Trevor Lawrence. But they're making it look easy. And for whatever reason, the Jaguars are making it so easy to look so bad. Where it's like they're almost trying at this point to go out there and lay eggs, man. Like, that's basically what it's come down to now. And once again, it's mind-boggling. I wish I had more answers for it of why it's happening like this. It's not a good thing to watch on TV right now.
Yeah, and it's just the same mistakes. I just said, I mean, really, if you start to think about it, I'm going through some of those games and the wins, and they would still turn the football over. They would still have lineup issues. They would still have red zone problems. They would still have third down conversion problems. I've got to believe, and I'd have to go back to the numbers and look, this offense just hasn't been consistent since 2022, that end run, where they really got going. And Trevor was one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League for that stretch. And there's a coincidence there, right?
Yeah.
Whether they were helping him set up and get him in a rhythm and a groove, or he was just playing really good football at the time, he needs to find the really good football, or they need to find the rhythm. I don't know which one comes first. I don't know what's the chicken and the egg here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I do know you can't just do it all yourself as a quarterback, but you have to also elevate. And he just isn't doing enough of that, and they're not doing enough around him to make him play quality football. And that's on Doug and Press and Trevor to figure out. I put Trevor in the mix. It's his offense. We came into the year saying, hey, this is really his offense now. When you're year 3 in the offense and you're the franchise quarterback, this is your offense. I have no idea. Yeah, sure, Brady, whatever, even Reed. That's Mahomes' offense. Just watch him interact. Mahomes does it. Mahomes now calls what he wants. Mahomes is taking stuff out of the playbook. As much as Reed really plays the fiddle alongside of him, it's Mahomes. And this is Josh Allen, man.
Yeah.
I felt like Josh Allen's almost calling the plays. I mean, how about I want to ask you about this real quick. They spread everybody out. He goes up the gut in the first quarter. He does the same exact thing on 3rd and 10 in the second quarter. Is that all just zone, or does that lack of recognition? I mean, that was so easy on 3rd and 10. That's not even, hey, he's a good quarterback. That was
No. That comes down to, once again, and this is in preparation. This is talking to Ryan Nielsen, the coaching staff. This is making sure that you guys understand rush lanes. That you understand that, like, it doesn't take a rocket. Like, anybody in the chat could saw, like, hey, if you're a Jaguars pass rusher, make sure that you stay home, please, because Josh Allen has wheels. You watched how much film on him, and you know if he gets out of the pocket, if you cheat inside, if you don't stay in your gap, he's going to burn you. And we saw that a bunch of times last night. I mean, I showed you during the break the Eric Armstead stuff. But once again, And the whole rotation of, like, are the rookies going to be up? You're just going to sit guys because, well, they had a good practice this week, so we're going to have those guys up and some guys are down. Whatever the case may be. But you have veterans that are making mistakes. All right? You have guys that have played a lot of football that are not being coached or whatever. And once again, does it fall on the coach or the players? I don't know, man. At this point, Brent, I'm getting points to the players. I'm starting to lean more towards the players over the coaches because I can sit there and say, hey, if you're Eric Armstead, please don't cheat inside when you're defensive end because Josh Allen can beat you on the outside because he's pretty quick. Please don't cheat inside. And you cheat inside. And then you fall, you trip, and it's – once again, I just talked about the offense of how easy they make it look so bad. Same thing on the defense last night, Brent. Like, the Bills made it look like it was like slow motion. Like Josh Allen could have walked.
It was practice, man. It was practice. It was on air.
God.
Hey, one last before we head to a break.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? When we get in these situations, and believe me, we've been in these situations in the past. When we get in these situations, I'm like, well, that guy's out of place because he's trying to do too much. Like Fourier has done this in the past where he doesn't trust the guys. So he's trying to do a little too much. It takes away from his game. And then you fall back to the old Bill Belichick, do your job.
Yes.
Just do your job.
Yep.
And right now, if the Jags would just do your job, you'd feel like there'd be a lot better football, offensively specific. I mean, catch the ball, throw the ball, line up correctly, make a block like, once in a while. And if you do your job, forget about what the opposition does. They're going to win some plays. But forget about what they do. You'll probably be better off. You'll be okay. Yeah. Defensively, I feel like the same thing. There was a lot of probably not doing your job last night because when things are that open, there's a lot of busts and misses and everything else. But it doesn't strike me, especially, you see this on defense a lot where somebody's trying to do too much to make up for somebody else. I really don't think you showed me those Armstead plays. I didn't see that in those 4 plays. That wasn't like a guy trying to go help out the interior and do something that out of his lane.
No.
So it's one thing if you're trying to do that. I almost understand that,
sure,
right? Where you're trying to go make an extra play.
You try to create a spark. You try to play outside yourself. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, even Jalen Ramsey used to do this. Now he did it more probably from a selfish standpoint where he wanted to go make a play. But like that happens. I get that.
Correct.
That's not it. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing guys jumping out of their lanes and boxes to help somebody else out.
No.
I just think they're not doing their job.
No, correct. And listen, I know we have to go to break here, but one thing maybe we can kind of tease for the next segment. I appreciated Shad Khan when he came in because when he was introduced, when I saw on the team, he made it abundantly clear, like he's not a football guy, like he's not an X and O's guy.
Yeah.
But he's gonna have our best interests, listen to our concerns, everything like that. And it seems like the more as his tenure as an owner has gone, he's become more involved a little bit, even to the point where this offseason he came out and said, and he said this is the best roster that has ever been assembled in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and expectations are to win. They're 0-3, and it's a bad 0-3, Brent. It's not there's a nail biter here. No, this is a bad 0-3, and I was there when he got in front of us with Malarkey and said, we're going to do something special this year, because he was told that we had a great team that was ready to go to the playoffs. We win 2 games, Coach Malarkey gets fired, we know what happens after that. You have a guy now in Shad Khan, an owner, who got in front of his team once again and said, guys, we're definitely going to win this year, right? Because we have the roster to do it, and they haven't won. So my question to you, and you can probably think about this, is at what point, if you're Shad Khan, do you kind of feel like maybe you were cheated a little bit, that you were fooled, kind of like the whole Malarkey stuff? And do you have to go, I need to make some kind of call here. I have to make some kind of decision. I have to say something because I'm looking pretty bad right now in front of this team.
Yeah, and I wonder if he and his camp even did it a little bit yesterday. I'll tell you what I think about that, but it's a good question. And are we seeing some separation there from the owner and this regime already to set the table for what's to come at some point? We'll do that when we come back. We're live at High School 912 Fall Sports Media Day here at the Winston Family YMCA in Riverside. We've got another hour to go. Lunchtime with us. Therapy session continues here on the Brent and Austen Show. Action Sports Jags 24/7 Network. And don't forget, Jags Report Live coming up tonight at Strings in Springfield. String Sports Brewery tonight, special Tuesday edition on Fox 30. And we actually might, I don't know this yet, but we might be moving Thursday's show to tomorrow for Jaguars All Access because of the storm Don't have that confirmed, but a possibility. So this week's all out of whack with the late arrival back in town this morning to now the storm and the Jags stink. We'll be back. In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jags team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot, any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From 1954 to 2024, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. That commitment includes a partnership with the Action Sports Jags 24/7 team as the presenting sponsor of all Armada men's and women's broadcasts this summer. Action Sports Jags and Alive Credit Union, a partnership that just makes sense when it comes to covering Northeast Florida. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of our first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $1,000 or more when you bundle the Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Financing options available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com. Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play.
a friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville Orange Park in the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Welcome back here to the Winston Family YMCA High School 912 Fall Sports Media Day, and wrapping up around 1 o'clock, same time as our show, and it's good to see all the kids. Again, we got swimmers and cross-country runners. I think volleyballers I've seen out here as well. Who else did I just see? There's cross-country. A bunch of different schools here, so pretty cool for these kids to get some attention in their sports as well. We know kind of cover the big three in the high school often, but we also love the cool stories and all the different sports and accomplishments. And, man, big high school sports fans. So hopefully if your son, daughter, family member or get to participate today, you might be able to see them on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network in the next few days and few weeks, as we'll have a lot of the content we're gathering and put it out there on our new AS Jax 24/7 network, which, by the way, you can find on actionnewsjax.com, the Action News Jax app, and Action News Jax now on your smart TV. I will say I was talking to some folks over there, and I think they were from Riverside High School, and they were just asking what we were doing. I said, well, this is a Jags therapy session over here. You go over there if you want to do interviews with Marcel and company. And
Free hugs available over here. Yeah.
I said, don't come over here. This is toxic over here.
Yeah,
this little area. This is a bad
your whole
vibe.
day.
Bad vibes.
And
so then you walked by in the commercial break, and they're like, oh, is he a Jags player? I said, well, he used to be. Yeah. Now he fights in UFC and the MMA fighter. And then I said to the young lady, I was like, and so am I. And he kind of was like, no, you're not.
Busted, Brent. Dang.
Tried to pull it off. You had asked before the break, Shad Khan.
Yeah.
So there's a couple layers here, right? And I think it was Demetrius Harvey last night after the game said a source told him that Shad was pretty angry. I don't know if you saw this.
So. No, I didn't see it, but I would hope that Shad Khan's angry.
Let me just find it so I don't misquote it. Let's see. How many times you tweeting, Demetrius?
Brent,
since last night?
Following your footsteps,
trying to keep up with me.
Yeah.
Someone close to the Jags owner, Shad Khan, to me tonight says this is, quote, angrier than I've ever seen Shad. He is usually reserved, kind gentleman, not tonight.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Shad's got a very tight circle.
Yep.
Whatever that means. I saw Shad before the game. I saw him after the game. I was going in the locker room. Mm-hmm. He goes in there before the team gets back in there. He's listening and watching this. What I don't know is if he talked to Doug any longer than he normally would, because, of course, they're going to talk. But is there anything more going on there after this one? Because Doug, it took him a while to come out. So my guess is either Doug was gathering himself or maybe there was a longer conversation with the owner of the football team. But what you asked earlier was, when does he start to say, all right, enough's enough. You told me this. And so it starts with who told him that, right? I think I saw some stuff nationally or going around that there's a Connor Orr article out there, too, about just some of the things the Jags have done. I thought that article was just okay. It's a little bit saying the Jags, they're playing catch-up, which I've actually indicated that it feels like they're a little late to the party on a couple of their hires at times, like the trends of the NFL. And they were basically saying Doug and Trent are that. I think that's a different conversation. I don't know if I fully agree with Connor, what he's saying, but I get what he was, going after there.
Yeah.
But I think there's this other stuff. It's like, okay, who told him that when your owner gets up there and says this is the best roster and best team and best coaches, who said that?
Yep.
Because you said that he doesn't know.
Shad doesn't know.
Right? He can feel that way because he just wrote the checks.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to diminish Shad's knowledge in that sense.
Yeah.
We think they were good too, but we weren't saying they were the best one ever.
Situation
right?
where it's like Jerry Jones has his fingerprint all of this roster and everything. So like he writes the checks.
Trent Baalke or Doug Pederson are like, when they sit there and like, hey, how good of a year this is going to be, or hey, Shad, we need this, because we feel like if we do this, it's going to be really good.
Yes.
And your question is, did a guy like Trent Baalke say what Gene Smith said years ago, like, hey, we got a chance?
Yep. Because we want to talk about how patient Shad Khan is, and yes, he has been patient, but the 1 year that he wasn't was because he was, maybe told the wrong thing, and maybe he felt a certain type of way of looking like a fool because of it, and he had to get rid of people.
There's two things, in my opinion, covering Shad for the last decade plus that he does not like, and I think we've seen evidence of it from the Gene Smith and Malarkey one, and that one was strictly what you just said.
Yes.
And keep in mind, there was the Tebow stuff in that one because of the Jets and everything else.
And I was in that meeting room, Brent, when he introduced himself to the team, and I understand, like, when you're a new owner, you always want to, you always want to get, hyped up and everything, and you always want to, be optimistic. But the way that he spoke to us, it was evident. Like, hey, you guys have something special here already. I'm just here. I'm a guy writing the checks and everything, but I'm gonna let you guys do the football stuff because it's where it needs to be already.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that I got when he first spoke to the team.
And I think that's what it was. And he lets people do their job. And then when it's time to make a move, he makes a move. And it's been interesting. He made a move quick there, but I think that was an example of what you just said. He had. Malarkey and Gene Smith were like, we got some people here. We think we can be pretty good.
Yep.
Then he goes 2-14 and like, see you later. You guys told me we could be this, and you're not. Mm-hmm. We got to go in a different direction. Well, then if you take Gus and Dave, they said this is going to be a few years. We're going to rip it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a few years.
They were honest with it.
And they were honest with it. Now, I think he needed it a year faster. Mm-hmm. But as in part why they kept Dave and just fired Gus and kept a lot of everything else together.
Correct.
Then you fast forward to like an Urban, right?
Yeah.
Where it was a different reason why he let go Urban. It wasn't necessarily the truth versus a lie of, well, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. Now, there's probably a little part of that. But what Shad didn't like about the Urban stuff is that, hey, we've lost before, but we haven't lost with drama.
Correct.
And he did not like losing with drama.
Yep.
So there's two things. He doesn't like when you tell him the plan and you don't deliver. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't like when you add drama to the mix. Well,
that's fair.
This team feels like it's void of drama. At least as of now.
Right now, yes.
I think. Now,
no. I mean, as of right now, yes, I agree with you, Brent. But, I mean, I feel like if this stuff keeps compiling, if you keep on losing games like this, the drama's bound to come to the table then, to the forefront. Well, I think.
So let's just say for now the drama doesn't exist unless there is this going on inside between the front office and the coaching staff, which certainly people have said could be. Mm-hmm. I still don't think that impacts play on the field to this degree, if I'm being honest, but whatever. He'll know more of that by whatever he feels coming out of the building. And he'll probably know more than we know when it comes to that. I think that's so much speculation right now that I don't want to go down that road. But the bottom line is, what if Baalke and Doug, Baalke or Doug, you can pick whoever told it, and said, this is the best team. We're going to have a chance. We're going to have a chance to not just win the division, go to the playoffs, make a deep run. Who knows if we're a Super Bowl team? I can't imagine he told them that. Yep. But we can make a run. We can be amongst the elite in the AFC. And you're 0-3. So what we've learned about Shad in the past, there's evidence to say, you don't like when you tell me that and you don't deliver.
Yeah.
And right now they're not delivering. So how much longer will he give them to be able to deliver what they said was going to happen? And by the way, my answer to that is he'll give them more rope. This is not going to be, nobody's getting fired today. I don't think anybody's getting fired next week if they lose. I think he's going to give them rope because that, too, is his M.O. He doesn't like to fire in the middle of a season. And the times that he has fired, it's been very late in the season when he just feels like he has to do it. Both Gus Bradley and Urban Meyer come to mind.
So if I'm Shad Khan, which I'm definitely not the businessman type, but if I'm Shad Khan, the first thing that I'm doing, Brent, and let's think about this now. So are they off today? They have to be off today, right?
They're off today.
Okay. So then when they come back Wednesday, the very first thing I'm doing is I'm getting together and I'm calling to my office one by one, not as a collective, but I'm calling one by one the guys that I paid. So I'm calling Josh Hines Allen, I'm calling Trevor Lawrence, and whoever else that you think is a pillar on this team. And I get right now, no one's really playing to their maximum capabilities, so it's hard to really say who the true pillars are. Tyson Campbell's obviously out with an injury, but I'm calling the guys that I've at least paid, that I've spent all this money to, and we're having a one-on-one. And you're going to sit down and I'm going to be like, what you say stays in here. This won't get out, but I need to know what's going on right now. And that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm not talking to Doug anymore, okay? I'm not talking to Trent Baalke. I'm going directly to the players. And I'm saying, why are we the way we are right now? And what can we do to fix it? And I need an honest approach, because if I'm going to invest this much money in you, Josh Hines-Allen, in you, Trevor Lawrence, we need to have some kind of relationship where I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I'm doing.
That's good call.
I'm done talking after the games to coaches. I'm done talking to, no, I'm going right to the players one by one and picking their brains.
That's a good call. Like, listen, and that was Connor Orr's column a little bit too. It's like, listen, these guys all sell you something. They're trying to save their jobs. They're trying to put themselves in a good position. It's a little bit of survival in the NFL, and they don't mean poorly, I don't think, by it, but they have confidence in what they're doing, and they're going to sell the owner this and that. And that was his point of the article. Like, you're selling billionaires just a bag of goods sometimes, and it doesn't work out. And it's, I guess he kind of related it to corporate America, which is kind of the same way sometimes. There are probably some people that get to high positions of corporate America that have sold a bag of goods and don't really deliver, and then you make changes. I mean, we see that all the time in the business world. So that's not uncommon, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was the point of his article. I like what you just said there. I do think he is invested with those two cornerstones specifically. I know he's paid a lot of people money, but those two cornerstones specifically, that and he respects those guys. He respects them for who they are.
Yep.
I think he respects them as players. And I'm not sure if that's already happened. I'm not sure if that will happen. I'm not sure if that could happen soon. But I don't think it's a bad idea. And I'm not sure what that would reveal, quite frankly. I don't think these guys are off the train of Doug, Press, Ryan Nielsen, everybody else. So I don't think you're going to get like the Urban Meyer response. When Meyer got fired, in part, a lot of conversations about Trevor Lawrence had a conversation with the owner around that same time, and obviously got to tell him some things that he thought, even as a young player, as a rookie in the National Football League, of what had been transpiring. I don't think it's that kind of conversation. But if I'm the owner, I would be very interested in what those guys have to say, just compared to what I'm hearing from the higher-ups in the building, get the players' perspective on it, just to be constructive and try to map this thing out and how they can fix it, or at least for my ownership purposes, feel confident that, all right, these guys are still in a good spot to turn things around.
Yeah, and I think, once again, I think when you bring in a group of guys, because we used to have this, like, and this was the thing that we had back when I played, you know, like Shad Khan had his, like, they called it the leadership committee, right? And I wasn't privileged to be a part of it, obviously, but you know, you had like Puzz, I think Daryl Smith was on there too, Rasheen.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're just basically guys that are kind of pillars, that are leaders in that locker room. They all met together. But I'm saying you go one by one, offense and defense, and see where everyone's at, because there's a disconnect, Brent. And order one has to find out where it's coming from. Is it the players? Is it the coaches? Is it whatever the case may be? But if I'm Shad Khan, and listen, I understand, and take my advice with a grain of salt, Mr. Khan, if you're listening to this. But I get maybe he's not the biggest X's and O's guy, but he knows how business works. All right, there's a reason why he's a billionaire. There's a reason why he owns this team in the first place, because he knows how to make business decisions. And a part of any successful business is leadership and communication. And that's getting lost right now. So if I'm Shad Khan, I'm going one by one with these leaders, and I'm asking, where is the communication not getting through? And I'm going from there.
Yeah, let's hear from some of those players, by the way. Andre Cisco and this defense, they were just bad. And, you know, Cisco I thought was going to have a monster year. He made some mistakes in the Miami game, might have cost them a little bit. It wasn't Cisco alone yesterday. It was everybody yesterday. I mean, I really don't know a player that played well. And it didn't help that Aluakin went out of the game. I mean, he's the one guy that can really jump off the screen for you sometimes. And now he's got a foot injury. We don't know the extent of it, but he went out of the game. Jarian Jones went out of the game. They were obviously already hurting a little bit with Darnell Savage out for a couple of games. But here's what Andre Cisco said after the game in Buffalo.
Been on this team for a few years now. This one's about as bad of kind of a feeling as it's felt in this locker room afterwards. What's kind of the vibe here with the guys?
Hard to get a feel right now. Definitely a lot of bitterness and disappointment. Just put in too much work for this, and so it's hard to understand why this is happening. Just waiting to see what it is to learn and take from it. Obviously beyond the film, I think just like, just when it comes to character, when it comes to living right, when it comes to doing things right on a consistent basis, because this is always a little bit bigger than what you guys see on the field. We kind of got to internally figure out what it is.
The first half, everything going Buffalo's way when they were on offense. Can you attribute that to anything?
Nah, super unexpected. I feel like I studied really well this week and had a good feel for what the offense was going to do. They came out with a few things in the first drive that was like, okay, they kind of schemed up well. After that, just a lack of execution.
How disappointing is it that this is that primetime stage, that Monday Night Football game that everyone kind of gets amped up about, and for it to be put on tape like this?
Yeah, it sucks either way. I'm not focusing too much on that. But you definitely want to come out and show out on big time stages. We didn't take advantage of the opportunity at all.
Last one for me, just you guys got to reset. You got Houston next. It's a short week. How big is the challenge this week for you guys to get this thing turned around?
Yeah, we back into a corner. So now you can see the whole picture, and you know what you got to do. It's clear. It's a must-win situation. Obviously a good team, but division rivals, obviously we know them a little bit better. So looking to go in and steal a win for sure.
Well, there he is, Andre Cisco, very professional about it. Said must win. He said must win.
Yeah.
And backed into the corner. I kind of feel like they've been backed into the corner for quite some time. The athletic part of that, right, is to punch your way out of that corner. Yeah. The competition part of that, punch your way out of the corner. Jags just aren't punching right now, man. They're not punching hard enough. That's what's a little stunning. Where's the punch? They take a punch, and it's like, it's too much. They can't overcome it. And we're not even in the 10th round yet, man. Yeah. We're in the early stages.
Yeah. And, yeah, we are in the early stages for sure, Brent. And here's the thing. In the past, I feel like with this team, at least when they got punched, and granted, we're talking about teams that didn't have the talent to compete.
Yeah.
And we all saw it. But at least when they got punched, they'd be pissed off. And sometimes it'd be the point where it's like you're throwing helmets to the sidelines, and it's like, okay, well, that's a distraction.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to sound the wrong way here, but I would much rather take that right now than what I'm seeing of we're feeling sorry for ourselves. We don't know what's going on. Let's take a look ourselves in the mirror and figure it out. I would much rather have someone throw a helmet at this point, Brent. And once again, you're on to Houston. I get all of that. It's frustrating for so many reasons, and I obviously broke down more of the offense, I think, but I can't reiterate this enough, too, about this defense. We just heard Cisco speaking about it. I was maybe the biggest cheerleader of Ryan Nielsen coming in here, right? Because I took him at his word of what the plan was going to be. And he said it himself how many times. And this is what really perked my interest, and this is what really, perked my intrigue of Ryan Nielsen. He was going to set his guys up for success. And for how long that we've been doing the show together, Brent, how many times have I said it? Where good coaches can take players and make them play their scheme. Great coaches can take their players and evolve their scheme around them. Mm-hmm. And when I see Trayvon Walker have 10 sacks last year, when I see Josh Allen go out of his mind and have 17.5 sacks last season, I look at it and I go, okay, I don't got to change much there. And guess what? You know how many teams in this league would kill to have two bookends, to have two studs at the edge rushing position that gets the quarterback? Teams would kill for that. And we had that luxury last year. I get there wasn't a lot to like last year on defense towards the end of the year, but you had that at least. Well, where's that gone? Where's that gone? Well, when Josh Allen dropped back into coverage because he did it or dropped back in the pocket, he did it 25 times, 27 times, whatever. Where was that last night? So then I hear Ryan Nielsen say this stuff to start out training camp. I'm like, all right, perfect, man. I like your attitude. And then I see guys playing out of position. I see guys playing man coverage that clearly cannot play man coverage. And instead of going, hey, guys, I know we haven't really practiced zone a lot, but you're all professionals. You know what zone coverage is. You all went to college. You probably ran some sort of zone in college a little bit. We're going cover 2. We're going cover 3. We're going quarters. We're doing something else. But no, you want to put your guys in spots to fail. And that's what you saw last night. I'm really, listen, I'm very curious to see what this game plan is going to be for the Houston Texans. Because I can't say this enough. Yes, the Bills are a good team. They're a great coach team. Might be the MVP. We'll see. Might be the MVP. We'll see. I don't respect their skill guys. I don't think their wide receivers are anything to, fear in Buffalo. Keon Coleman, we'll see, man, but you've been kind of absent. You got a touchdown and everything. Khalil Shakur, honestly, man, out of the slot, I'm not sure how many teams are actually going to take you as a starting slot receiver. I'm not sold on the Bills' offense whatsoever. Yes, I'm sold on Josh Allen. I'm sold on James Cook, but in totality, they're just okay to me. What happens when you play a pissed-off Houston team that just came off getting embarrassed by a Minnesota defense who played a lot of quarters coverage? What happens then? If you think you got it easy now, you don't. It's going to get harder from here. And Houston's wide receivers, Nico, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, we'll see what the running back situation is going to look like. If Mixon's playing, get ready for him as well. They're super dynamic, they're quick, and they're a lot better than the Buffalo Bills receiving core. So if I'm Ryan Nielsen, I'm looking at myself and saying, I want to be this man-to-man guy. I want to play man coverage. That's who I am. That's my identity. But at some point, you got to go, I got to set my players up for success. And right now, that's looking like a little more zone coverage than man-to-man.
Well, you have that problem, or you like the idea that Nielsen was going to bring an element of making the players that he has better, or put them in a good position. The thing that I liked about Nielsen's defense is we've been searching for identity around here, and we knew what it was. It was attack. But what I would say and you know this more than me, but my view of the word attack is you bring it to the offense. Right, you that's because you're playing man, right? You're bringing it to the receivers, or you're going to bring it and mix some things up. But you're also playing this simple kind of defense where you shouldn't be out of place.
Yeah.
While you're bringing it and attacking. Honestly, even in the first couple of games where they played pretty good in terms of points given up, I don't see an attacking defense. Do you? Do you see a defense that it's attack? He has an attack hat. That's his mantra.
Yeah.
He wants to play that way. It doesn't scream that way when I look at it. And I don't know if that's a player thing or if they're just not doing schematically enough things to look like they are, or maybe that's just a little bit of a false bravado mantra because maybe they shouldn't be attacking and maybe they should play more zone.
well, listen, you're attacking in terms that you're playing press coverage, and that's great and everything. But we say this all the time. Press coverage works hand in hand with pass rush. And when you don't have a pass rush going on, Brent, I don't care if you have 2 Darrelle Revises back there. Eventually, the wide receiver is going to get open.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. So, it goes hand in hand. You don't have the pass rushers right now, it seems like. You don't have the interior and once again, I can't believe we're having this conversation. Because how excited were we? You have Trayvon Walker, you have Joshua Hines-Allen, and what do we say? Well, at least you have Eric. Now our interior is going to get some push. So what is this going to look like? We're talking about here, man, if Josh Allen gets 13, 14 sacks, I'll be happy. Trayvon double digits. And Eric Armstead's pretty cool. 8 or 9 on, we'll be good to go. That's where we're at. We're not even close to that right now.
Oh my.
So let's go ahead and temper those expectations real quick. But you had one great thing, and one for sure thing, and now it seems like you lost it with the pass rush. And there's no rhyme or reason why, but I will say this, and I've been a big advocate of this, you got to put players where they're accustomed to playing, where they're best suited. I get Trayvon Walker played all over the line in college, and he's this freak athlete, and he has this wingspan, and he's put on some weight. I don't care. The guy had 10 sacks last season playing the edge. Keep him on the edge, please. Eric Armstead has had his best career highlights. Go back and watch the YouTube videos. Ryan Nielsen, I know you've seen him, so I'm not sure what we're doing here. He's had his best career highlights when he's played the 3 technique or played in the middle. So let's not put him on the edge anymore. And Joshua Hines-Allen, I don't know what to say with him, man, because, you added weight, and I'm not sure if that's really the discrepancy. You say you feel good, but whatever the case, you need more from him as well.
Well, my guess is he's going to get a lot more attention coming off this year, right? That last year. So that means you want to put those other two guys in their primary spots to be able to do what they do from those positions that they are comfortable in, because they're the ones that can eat when it comes to that. And Josh probably going to get more attention. He's going to be minimized a little bit. That's going to be the game plan going in. Now, who knows if that's a weight thing and an attention thing? I don't know. Again, last week against Cleveland, if you look at the numbers, he played very well against Cleveland. Against Miami, and this game seems like you just didn't notice him that much. So, but you didn't notice anybody on defense in this game, at least for the right reasons. Let's do this. Take a time out here on the Brent and Austen Show. Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Still probably hear from Christian Kirk along the way today, as just got a couple more interactions from the locker room. Jags will be back to work tomorrow and trying to fix this thing. And
man, I'm gonna call my therapist up. I think right now, Brent. I'm gonna have her on speed dial here to get a little break.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be like a kind of a kumbaya, we'll help each other out. I'm just getting more frustrated when we talk, man.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice, and they don't have a lot of answers. What I'm getting a little concerned of is if you take a Foye out of the lineup, let's just say he can't play, that becomes a question that you can't answer. You don't have an answer for him. Like, he becomes very valuable because your young guys just haven't played well enough at that spot, and that's a bad development. That's bad investment because they haven't got to the point where you feel good if Foyer's out of the game.
Well, and we saw Chad Muma last night, too. He gave up that one touchdown to Ty Johnson. So obviously I think Chad Muma fills in for Foye. Maybe put Chad Muma in the middle. You move Lloyd back to the outside. But even Chad Muma last night wasn't a good showing. And this was a guy that we sang his praises during the preseason as well.
He had looked good at a lot of different instances, but not here. We'll see if they get Darnell Savage back. I mean, could he be a little bit of a difference maker? Oh, and that's one thing I did want to ask you, and I'll do that a little bit later on the show.
Sure.
What are guys like Savage and Ingram thinking watching that game last night? Think about that a little bit. We'll take a break. That is Everbank Stadium. Jags are home in a couple of weeks, and then they go to London. Will they come in 0-4, 1-3, looking to go get a winning streak started? Well, I know what you'd pick right now. We'll be back on the Brent and Austen Show.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%.
You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer.
You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com. And while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC. We are professional grade.
It's hard to put a price on comfort, especially when you use that comfort on a daily basis. But if we're going to put a price on it, how does the lowest price guaranteed sound? Furniture Source is going to have the biggest brands, whether it's Ashley, Casper, or Tempur-Pedic, and once again, it's going to be the guaranteed lowest price in Jacksonville. Right now, my friends at Furniture Source are going to give you the ultimate hookup because all month long, they're making their inventory wholesale price. Check out their markdowns up to 50% off. And remember, since it's Furniture Source, you're getting the guaranteed lowest prices in Florida or your money back. Don't have the cash on you right now? It's no worry. Shop endless options to suit your style and budget and enjoy 36 months off with no interest financing. Why use your money when you can use theirs? Whether it's beds, couches, tables, or chairs, Furniture Source is going to have exactly what you're looking for. Shop the lowest prices in Jacksonville guaranteed. Find the location nearest you at FurnitureSourceJax.com.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Financing options available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
The friendliest golf course in town, the Golf Club at Southampton. Local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jags Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jags Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
New to town or always been in town, everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you got to order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martinos get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza, some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're going to love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now you can use the code Brent20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations, Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jags 24/7 network.
Welcome back here to the Winston Family YMCA High School 9-12 Fall Media Day, other sports outside of football, which is really cool. We're seeing a lot of kids here represented from around the area schools and about a handful of kids from each school that came in various sports. We're talking volleyball, cross country, swimming I've seen, and probably a bunch of others in the fall. And this is the man in charge of it, Alan Verlander, I think you know very well, from Airstream Ventures, also with High School 9-12. And it's a cool day for the kids. We've told the kids, by the way, don't come over here. This is a bad vibe area. All right, this is the Jags therapy session, and that's where you talk to about your sport.
That's where it's
what's going on.
Over there,
positive
right?
over there with our Action Sports Jags team, which we'll eventually put on Action Sports Jags 24/7 network, by the way. So that's cool. But this is a good deal. This is about High School 9-12 and what you're doing. This is more than just sports, right? This is life. This is college and everything else when you go in business interviews to get comfortable doing things like this.
It certainly is. I mean, we had this vision, and we want to get kids off their phones, teach them how to look somebody in the eye and communicate, right? And so we bring them here. We do a fall sports one. We'll do a basketball one that's become really big for boys and girls, and then we do a spring sports one. With this one, we bring them in, we put them in a classroom at first, teach them, here's what the media is going to ask you, but it's referable to a job interview, as you talked about, and then they come in, and we have all of our local media here, and as I've said before, in high school sports, I think we have the best local media that really care, and y'all cover sometimes when you're extra tired, but it's important. These kids, it makes a difference. And so it's been fun to see volleyball players or swimmers that are doing interviews, and they're never talked about, rarely, and so they feel special when they leave.
That's cool, yeah, and they get the taste of it. It's not easy, and sometimes not easy. And by the way, I think it helps us. It's not easy interviewing swimmers and cross-country kids all the time, too, when you don't know a lot about those sports. But as I always say, my favorite part of this gig and why I got into it is everybody's got a story, and the stories exist in all different sports, and not just in football and basketball and baseball and the ones that we cover a lot. Ellen Verlander with us. The high school 9-12 thing has been really cool. We've done some stuff on social media. I've been to some of the events. You have SAT preparation. How has the birth of that evolved into what you thought it could be and would be?
Yeah, I mean, when we started it almost 7 years ago and to where it is today, it's like I never dreamed that we'd be doing media days like this. I knew we'd do one for basketball, but I mean, we start next week. We start an ACT and SAT boot camp free of charge. You get online if you're interested. Go to our website and you can sign up. These media days, we do a financial literacy course. We do a high school leadership academy with Jim and Tabitha Furick. So there's a lot of great things that are going on, and it's really focused on the entire student, not just one sports area or whatever. We try to embody all the different things that a student's going to go through in a given year, and then we give college scholarships to kind of end the year with our partnership. And so we're very thankful. All of this is privately funded through all of our corporate partners, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them. But they're really the ones that are affording us ability to make a difference in these kids' lives.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of that stuff that you just mentioned, I mean, it just doesn't fall in the curriculum of school, public school, or maybe other schools, and maybe some of it does cross over a little bit, but I mean, these are I've been talking about for years, just from a common sense standpoint, just financial literacy, how beneficial that would be if I learned it as a junior in high school or a senior in high school. And so these opportunities are good, and not everybody passes that down. Family member wise, families are different. I even said my mom and dad were in the house, all that stuff, middle class, but they didn't tell me a lot about money. I don't remember that. Like, you got to go learn that stuff, and the real world awaits on the other side, right? So these things are really helpful.
Yeah, and you think, I was talking to some of the private school ADs that we had here, and you would think, oh, well, private school, you probably get all the. Private schools aren't getting that either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the public school, so all these different things that we're teaching, certainly ACT and SAT is important, because if you want to go to college and you want to go to the college of your choice, you better have the grades, but then you better have these standardized scores. And so we really want to try to help them, but then we want to give them all these other abilities and trainings to be able to, if you learn how to make money now with NIL, if you're an athlete,
good point,
you're going to be given all this money. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to blow it and be poor in 5 years, or are you going to invest it and do it the right way? So a lot of times within the school systems, they're just trying to get them through the day and get them through their curriculums. A lot of these things we're trying to do on the periphery to teach them to be better people and to be better ambassadors to give back to their city. I went to school here. I love Jacksonville, and I wanted to get back. And so if we can help change some of these kids' lives and teach them certain things to be better citizens when they're our age, then we've done our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun to follow, by the way, once you see some of these kids. And I mean, we're seeing that now. I get the luxury of doing that now that I've been here 16 years, right? So you get to see some of these kids almost grow up.
Some of these kids were babies when you were.
Right. That's kind of fun, though. I think that's kind of a neat thing of what we do. You've been involved in that scene, and you'll see some of these kids, and they'll be bringing their own kids in some days for this high school 9-12 program. You mentioned private funding, but there are other ways to get involved, right?
There are, yeah. I mean, we need volunteers all the time. You don't have to be a corporation, own a corporation. You can get online and donate $9.12 if you want to try to support it. So I can assure you all the money goes back to helping support all the different programs that we do. Airstream Ventures is our for-profit company. You and I have talked about that. We donate to High School 9-12 as well because we believe in it. So people can get involved in those kind of ways. We do a basketball tournament in December if you want to volunteer for that. Some of the best teams in the area are going to play in that this year. We do a big lacrosse event. We have these media days, the leadership academies, all that kind of stuff. We need volunteers. We need people to get involved. So if you're interested and you really want to make a difference and seeing these kids smile and seeing them feel like they matter, come be a part of High School 9-12 because it really is doing some really cool stuff in the classroom, on the field, and in just ways of life.
Help them grow up a little bit, which is pretty cool. Alan Verlander from High School 9-12, Airstream Ventures. The Cowboys aren't much better than the Jags, so there's that.
I was told somebody today, golly, it's painful to be a Jags fan and a Cowboys fan. I mean, I'm a Georgia Tech fan too. We had the big win against FSU, but then that doesn't look so great right now. So, Yeah, just enjoy watching, right?
Yeah, we
focus on our golf game.
That's it. By the way, we got a lot of rain in the last month, but we are in a drought when it comes to sports.
I am hoping. It looks like the Jags are going to have a long season, right?
Yeah.
Things will probably we'll start seeing some things, but golly, we've got to get the state schools. Thankfully, we have some really good high schools.
Yes,
so we have some really good high school football teams. Yeah. So let's celebrate them.
I'm telling you, the best games that we've had this fall so far, we watch on the Friday Night Zone Blitz, and we show every play of that thing 8 to midnight. So come check it out, because 3-4 straight weeks in a row, we've had just these unbelievable finishes. It's the most entertaining stuff out of my weekend right now.
It's fun. I mean, and you watch y'all shows, you listen to the shows. It's like that is where the excitement is right now, because people are so downtrodden on the Gators and the Seminoles. Now Miami, they may have a good team. Yeah, they may, but nothing like. And then the Jags, and then my Cowboys. It's just a struggle bus right now.
It is a struggle bus right now. Alan Verlander, good to see you, man. Congrats on this, and thanks for having us here once again. Look forward to some future events here with High School 9-12 as well. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, put a bow on the show, and a couple of final thoughts on the Jaguars as they sit right now. It's all on the way on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
It's a new logo, new branding. With Bold City Heating and Air, it's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. It's hot, Florida in the summer. You can't do much to avoid it, but you can keep cool with Bold City Heating and Air. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years, and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bold City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who is coming to your house. You know they will be well trained, and they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at boldcityac.com. Stay cool while it gets hot. Bold City Heating and Air can help. Don't get caught sweating all summer. boldcityac.com, and they have financing to help. New systems starting at $110 a month and $50 off any repairs. Stay safe, stay comfortable with Bold City Heating and Air at boldcityac.com. Homegrown in your hometown.
Building off a summer of terrific action at Southern Oaks Stadium, the Jacksonville Armada are looking forward to the future and the return of pro soccer in Northeast Florida. Season ticket reservations for MLS Next Pro are underway, and for just $100, you can lock in some great benefits when it comes to supporting the boys in blue. Those who make a reservation will have first selection options in the new Armada Stadium out east, near Jacksonville's downtown sporting complex, as well as access to supporter VIP events like stadium tours, open training sessions, and future meet and greets with players and coaches. You can make your season ticket reservations at jacksonvillearmada.com/ticket. And while you're there, read the very latest on the Armada men's and women's teams in action this summer. Show your commitment to the fleet with an MLS Next Pro season ticket reservation at jacksonvillearmada.com/ticket.
In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jax team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
When I say it means something to me, gentlemen, it means something to me.
High school football is back, and it's bigger than ever. Welcome to the Friday Night Zone Blitz.
It is bigger than a game.
Watch the biggest games each week live as the action unfolds with instant reaction and analysis from our Hall of Famer, Kevin Sullivan. It starts with live look-ins at the top matchups, including our Jaguars Prep Whataburger Game of the Week, and that is just the beginning of 4 straight hours of coverage. From 8 to 10:30, the Friday Night Zone Blitz is streaming on our Action News Jax app and online. At 10:30, the Friday Night Blitz you know and love. A half hour of highlights from around the area. 11 o'clock, we shine the spotlight on the bands that pump up the crowd. 11:15, it's time to blitz through the highlights online and on air. Then 11:35, back to the stream to break down the night's results with a reaction from local coaches. 4 straight hours of high school football on the Friday Night Zone Blitz. Only on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access.
Welcome to String Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence.
You can bring your party or event to String Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, a couple things still to get to as we wrap up this high school 9/12 fall media day as it starts to get quiet around here. And we'll pack up in about 10 minutes as well and call it a day on a Tuesday edition of the Brent and Austen Show. Hey, I do agree with Trevor on this front. He said it's a good time for a short week. We need to just flush this sucker and get back out there. Yeah. Last week was a long week around here. We were mad for 3 days in a row, or I was at least.
No, I'm with you.
And I think there's going to be a lot of that. And I think the shorter week from the noise standpoint does help them a little bit. I don't know if it helps them football-wise. I'm just mentally, I think it helps to go. This is a sport that's goofy, right? That you've got to sit and wait on wins and losses. That's why it's so week to week, because it's hard to carry it over. Mm-hmm. Well, the losses do carry over, I think, some more than the momentum of winning, because it's hard to get away from it, escape it. They're going to answer the questions about how do you fix it, and sometimes you can overcomplicate even that part of it. But I can't help but think of, I don't know when I thought about this last night somewhere as we're waiting to leave the stadium. We stayed at the stadium till 1:30 in the morning because of the plane. And then obviously didn't get back until 6:15 or so this morning. But I was thinking, what was Evan Ingram thinking watching that? Darnell Savage was home too watching it, but Evan Ingram's a captain. Evan Ingram's been he's kind of like this. I got a little bit of a heartbeat of this team, I think, at times. I like him in that role. Mm-hmm. What was he thinking? I mean, as a player watching that, listening to that broadcast as you're getting hammered left and right, but watching, he had to see how bad that was. You didn't have to feel that. It was almost, I told you this in the break, I bet it was worse watching that on TV than being there.
I believe it. Yeah. And listen, I've watched a lot of football, and sometimes you get the over embellishment, the Chris Collinsworth gushing over Patrick Mahomes or a 5-yard out route pass and stuff like that. But last night, and I forgot who was on the call last night.
Yeah, it was
Arlovsky was one of the dudes,
and Riddick.
Okay, yeah,
and obviously, why do I keep forgetting his name? College football and tennis, Fowler.
Okay, yeah. They were brutal last night, but here's the thing, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But it was rough. It was rough. It almost felt like they were. It's hard to even compare to what they were calling, but it almost felt like they were talking to kids for half the time. Talking like a Pop Warner team of okay, well, this is why this is bad, and he shouldn't be doing this, but he's doing it anyway. It was just. It wasn't a good look, Brent. So yes, to answer your question, if you're Savage, if you're Evan Ingram. Obviously, I think more Evan Ingram because he's been here for a little longer. And you know how much time he's put in. He's the first one out there every single practice. To sit back and watch that performance, Had to make you sick.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though. He's injured. Can he do something? Can he say something? Like, I genuinely feel this way. Like, I think he's a captain. Again, that's important to note here. He's one of your leaders. Can he come in and say something like, guys, I'm watching this, and you got nothing? Like, I'm just taking this from an outside perspective. You got no juice. Like, it's one thing to mess up plays, but does he see what we have been seeing the last couple of weeks where there's just nothing and you're playing flat? Or does he just have to physically get back on the field and then provide that himself?
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think Evan Ingram is a guy who has built up enough rapport where he could say something. But listen, and I'm no weird. When I played, I'm not on the level of Evan Ingram. But you always feel like when you're injured, when you're not on those sidelines, when you're watching that game from home, like you're still part of the team, but you don't really feel like you're part of the team.
I get it.
And I think in that sometimes you almost feel maybe a little out of place to really come forth with what we want to say, just because like you weren't there taking the loss with them.
I get it, and that is a big thing, and I respect that about this thing, but we've been asking ourselves for now a week plus, what do you do to mix it up? You know what? Hey, Evan, here's my message. Don't think that way this time. Go deliver a message. Maybe it's you that they'll respond to. You can say, we're getting embarrassed. Well, you should hear what they're saying. You should see how you guys look on TV, on national TV, on Monday Night Football. Maybe forget about coming from us. Maybe coming internally, maybe that could mean something. That would be a little different. I get it. But different is needed right now. There's something that needs to happen here in Jacksonville to make this better. And I just wonder, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know maybe it's just move on with the week and hopefully get better and healthy and play.
No, see, but Brent, you're past the point of hoping, really. Like, you know, there's some teams that they can say, okay, that wasn't us. That's a one-off and everything. I think the Ravens have maybe done that a couple of times this season already. If you're the Jaguars, you're not doing that anymore because now it's starting to become a thing. It's starting to become a habit of who you are. So you just can't say, we'll get the next one. No, to hell with that. Like, something's got to be changed.
Yeah, I see. I'm sure Trevor's regretting signing a long-term contract with the team now. This isn't about guys regretting playing for Jacksonville. This is a them problem. This isn't a Jacksonville problem right now. This isn't an ownership problem. This isn't a fan problem. This is an internal problem where they've got good enough players that can play around this league. If they all got cut today, they'd probably all find a home and probably still get paid pretty handsomely.
Yeah.
It's a them problem. Forget about Now, you might say the Jags regret paying anybody right now, but no, these guys are lucky to be getting paid, and it's fine being here. They've got to figure it out and fix it. Christian Kirk knows that, too. Let's hear from Christian Kirk, if we can, Rob, before we head out of here. Just a couple of minutes of Kirk last night in the locker room. He's another one of those guys that will stay steady, and he's not a real rah-rah guy, but you'll wonder if even a player like this can do something out of the norm, and he's got to play better, too, maybe before he can even say a lot more.
Christian, how tough is this one to come up here, Monday Night Football game, lots of excitement, just for it to fall flat like that?
Yeah, it's tough. It's embarrassing, and everybody involved deserves better. Just on a stage like that, I thought we had a good plan coming in this week. I thought we had a great week of practice, and just to come out and put that out there, it hurts. So. Got a lot to do when it comes to just looking ourselves in the mirror and just finding what kind of football team we want to be.
Every week is different, but is there any way to imagine this team to be 0-3 at this point?
No, obviously that was not in the plans, and I don't think any of us pictured us sitting here, but we're here. We got to own it. We got to own what we did tonight. We got to own what we did the past 2 weeks, and we got a short week, and nobody on our schedule in front of us is going to feel sorry for us. So, like I said, we got to band together, look ourselves in the mirror, and see what we can do better.
That was kind of the theme post game with Coach Pederson. Is it angry? Is it disappointed? Where does he kind of fall on this emotion scale? Talking to you guys after the game,
I think it's disappointment. I think it's disappointment from all of us. Put so much into it, and put so much into us being trying to be a good football team, and especially throughout the week. And it started back in April of trying to get ourselves to a point to where, we can get off to a hot start, and we just haven't done that. But thankfully we have a lot of opportunities in front of us. We got 2 divisional games coming in front of us, and those are the most important games right now.
Yeah, they're all important right now. And just a couple of things. The AFC South stinks. The AFC South right now holds 3 of the top 4 spots in the draft order.
Oh,
Jacksonville leading the way, Tennessee, and then Indy at 4. Cincinnati sandwich in between. So there's that.
Yeah.
And one other thing, Daniel Griffiths tweeted this out, and I want to mention it. Cam Robinson, 8 pressures allowed. 8 pressures allowed. Brendan Sheriff, 3. Ezra Cleveland, 3. Mitch Morse, 3. Walker Little, 2. Anton Harrison, 2. How much of that, and Trevor did allude to this at one point. I don't know if it was in the chunk that we shared earlier in the show.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's hard for those guys up front when they know you're passing on every down when you're down 34 to whatever.
Sure.
But 8 is a million. I mean, on the one time, he I think it was a sack.
Yeah.
On the 4th down, and it was a holding call. And he still got beat by a lot. Are we seeing just the decline of even a guy like Cam Robinson, where we thought the attitude and the play was what this team needed and is good enough there? Is he not good enough? Sheriff not good enough?
Brent, we say they're not good enough, but we've seen good from them.
Yeah, but they're getting a little old. Those guys are getting older.
Sure.
I mean,
but
Cam's not that old.
Does 1 year make that big of a difference? Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's not good for the offensive line, obviously. And 8 pressures, that cannot happen. And especially, like, once again, with all due respect to the Bills, but what do you think the Houston Texans defensive line is going to do? Because guess what? They get after the quarterback as well.
So the problem with the Cam Robinson one, this goes back to you got to play good to be able to do stuff, right? Cam Robinson's an attitude guy for you. He's one of the few attitude guys that you can maybe be like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And he's giving up 8 pressures. You can't be like, let's go, guy, if you're not playing well.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's unacceptable. And that's kind of been the thesis of today. Brent, we spent 3 hours talking about the Jaguars, and we haven't had one positive thing to say.
Yeah.
Because there's not one positive thing. You know what the positive thing was last night? This was in the group chat. They're like, Austen, do you know one thing you can actually say that's positive about watching that game? You know what I said? I said, well, at least Chipotle's got this new, brisket coming out and this commercial. Like, that was the only takeaway. I'm like, well, at least the brisket looks pretty good. I'm going to have to check that out sometime this week. That's all I'm at right now. Probably going to have a Whataburger because I'm going to eat my feelings away tomorrow. But besides that, that's all I got to go off of.
Whataburger Wednesday is tomorrow. I thought you were going to go with the block extra point.
No, that's... Honestly, I could care less about that.
What a bad day, man. A bad time right now in Jacksonville, and we'll see if they can figure it out, but we're not going to see that until Sunday, and I think we're afraid to watch, honestly. I think we've reached a point where we're kind of afraid to watch. I'm not looking forward to Sunday at the moment.
Should we break down some shrimp highlights from the season? You want to do that?
Yes. We'll look forward to the 2025 season.
Okay, yeah.
All right, we got to get out of here. For Austen Lane, I'm Brent Martineau from High School 912 Fall Sports Media Day. Jags report live tonight, 7 o'clock, String Sports Brewery. I mean, please come hang out with us.
With that, Brent.
Give us some hugs. Buy us a drink. Maybe I'll buy you a drink. Have a good one.